that was sent out earlier this week was staunch in that it was only residents of interest. Okay, as far as financial, you guys are stop right there. It stops with you.
10-second warning.
Okay. You stop it. We come up, we respect, we look at and compare different budgets and do all this background information, submit it to the council. So having anybody from outside the city is not going to be a burden. It's not going to be somebody doing something that the committee who submits it to council and mayor. Because you guys are the elected officials, you have the final say. I think we need to have individuals who are heavily involved. If they're interested, let them come and be a part of this. You know, maybe even keep Nassau Bay beautiful. Perhaps we should involve some businesses, because there's, you know, you drive around and you see some things that could be.
There, look at what I think most of the people here, it's come down to a couple of things. Do they or do they not live in Nassau Bay? And for 50 plus years, we've been just fine without such a consideration or possible action or any more ordinances in our nice little town. That's the last thing we need, more rules and regulations to stifle the fun of volunteering on a committee and trying to make it a little bit better place to live for all of us. It's unfortunate it's come down to this, and I know what it's all about, but it is what it is. I think there are a lot of people like myself who has a second home. Is everybody going to keep tabs of where I reside? I think there's a couple of people sitting on city council right now that have second homes. I don't know where they lay their head every single night, so I'm not going to keep tabs of them. I know Chief Cromie's got better things to do to go figure out where everybody's sleeping at night and to keep up with these regulations. So just give it a thought about maybe not making volunteer people have to live in Nassau Bay, whether they own a residence or own property. Well, that's fine with me. If they want to sit here and be on a board, I can just tell you right now, some of the people that I've worked with, in particular, Michelle Weller is a driver, and she's done a lot of really good things. I've never seen anybody take more notes than her, and I would never want to be in that position of trying to read and take all that and do what she's done. But she's got a lot of things taken care of in this city, and just look around. The parks have never looked better. Look around at the banners, look at the flowers, look at the parks, look at all the things that have been done, and that's because of a hard-working group of volunteers. And I don't care where they come from, as long as they want to volunteer and make my place, my residence here in Nassau Bay better, I'm all about that. But I don't think we need any more rules and regulations.
10-second warning, Mark.
Okay, I think there are better things to worry about, like flood mitigation and connecting the electrical grid all the way down Barbuda and Upper Bay, where it ends down there at the sewer plant, because I lose electricity all the time when the wind blows. And if we just connect those two loops, when the wind blows, then we're not going to have that. The whole part, the southwestern part of Nassau Bay will not lose their electricity. That's something that can be done, and it can be done tomorrow. If you guys will just get together with HLMP or Centerpoint or whatever. I know it's money, but I know, trust me, you go a week or so without electricity, and everybody's like, well, let's find the money. So anyway, thank you very much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you,
guys.
So when Nancy was talking, that made me think of a few things, because some people did contact me today that they were upset about that ordinance that he's talking about, saying that you have to be a resident of Nassau Bay. And I did write a letter to some members of council and explained some of the thoughts that I had, that there was some unintended consequences that could happen. Some people suggested that you should just say residents and homeowners, property owners, because they pay taxes, and those taxes are being used for the funds that are, you know, and they're invested in making the property values go up. That's the reason why I got involved. I own 3 homes here, I guess 4 if you count the estate. And I'm on the Queens Court HOA. I've been very involved in making this neighborhood look better. Megan knows that. We renovated the Unicorn and various other things. But in any event, by limiting that, I don't think it should be changed at all because council can vote in any event if they want to remove somebody. If you start putting in rules and regulations, then you have to think of all these other things. They mentioned if you have multiple houses. There's somebody who's on our committee right now that fell down and injured themselves and has moved out of Nassau Bay. And they're living in an assisted living facility right now. Does that mean that we need to kick them off the committee because they are injured? I don't want to do that. And then also, like if a student, the underage person is on our committee and they're a student and they go to summer school and they move away for summer school, are they kicked off the committee? If somebody's called out on military service or another job where they're living between two homes, I live between various homes, and I know, like you said, some people on council do the same. And also, what about a child who's underage and they have two parents? One lives outside of Nassau Bay, the other lives here, and I'm sure Chief Cromie doesn't want to follow people around like Mike said. So just to think of those things before you add all those. I know we have difficulty enforcing our regulations that we have now, thinking of the Jameson property, so this seems like a silly thing to try to enforce on people arbitrarily and discourage some people from becoming volunteers. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Anybody else?
Bear with me. My name is Kathy Huff. I live at 18614 Cape Town Drive. And I just want to say that Michelle has done a lot for the community and for the Parks Committee, and going out painting curbs in the heat and in the rain. And it's sad to say, but I think a lot of this is because of personality conflicts. And it's really sad. It hurts the community. And that's it.
Thank you, Kathy.
Hi there, Jessica Swan, 18438 Point Lookout Drive. I appreciate all these comments, and I do agree. I think more regulation is very cumbersome. The more we get, the more rules we have, it is difficult to enforce, and I hear that. But I appreciate the comment that was just made. I do think that a lot of this probably stems over what I've seen in the last 3 years of living in Nassau Bay, so not 50 years of experience or my whole childhood. It's a wonderful community. We couldn't wait to get here. But the last 3 years being involved in the neighborhood and watching elections happen and seeing people I knew and didn't know engage, I think that the reason that this has probably come up in some ways is not only personality issues, but it just seems like while there might be great intention in volunteering, there's also been a lot of intention to keep people out or to not engage if you don't like them. And so I think that there's a perspective of that on both sides, is at least mine as a citizen. There's been people hurt on both sides over the last 3 years, and it has gotten very contentious. There's, my team versus your team, and you don't get to volunteer if you're on the wrong team, or we don't want you involved. Maybe we're making a regulation that's a little bit too much for what we're doing, but I do think, to the point that was made so beautifully by Michelle, that if the council needs to, they can, or city council can remove somebody. And I think that if there are members that are on any of these committees and time after time after time there are complaints that are brought showing that they are not engaging the people who do want to get involved, that is a problem. So I think term limits are good. I think moving things around is good. But I think it's very important for us to see both sides, and that, if people want to invest in our community, great, but there are people who live here day in and day out that are trying to get involved, and they're not being allowed to get involved or are not being followed up with or engaged, and that's keeping more residents from stepping up and getting to be part of this great legacy. Thanks.
Anybody else? This is a citizens hearing. Going once? Going twice? Going 3 times? Citizens hearing is closed. It is 7:46. Thank you, everybody, for your comments. The next is the council members' comments, and Paula, you're right to my right, so I'm going to start with you.
Okay. Nassau Bay does look beautiful. I'm really excited about what's coming up for December. I know the reindeer run is really important. I'm sorry. I need to get used to pushing that button. Thank you. I know the reindeer run is really important. That day is going to be fabulous. It's holiday in the park. Now we hear of other events, so there's lots to choose from, and I just feel so lucky to be a part of all those options that our community is providing for us. So I'm thankful, and I hope everybody finds something that they enjoy and find valuable. As far as next week, school is out. The kids will be bicycling in the community. Please be careful driving. Watch out for them. It seems to get dark so soon, and I know that some kids are required to be home when the street lights go on, but there are young teenagers or maybe older teenagers out there riding their bikes, and they don't have to be in that early. So please be careful driving and watch out for them in our neighborhood. There's a new event with the scarecrow. I've seen some great-looking scarecrows and that contest. So there's just so much going on here, and I'm really proud to be a part of it. I'm proud of the events that we support, as we just saw. Our checks coming from hotel motel tax and not your taxes. They're going to events that bring people in and fill our hotels and our restaurants, and we're really proud of those events happening here. So there's a lot to do, and we're just in a great community. Please enjoy the holidays. Thank you.
All right, first, excuse me, I want to thank everyone for our adjusted time frame today. It seems like people figured out that we were meeting on a different night, so that's great that people are using the city calendar. I do want to thank all of our veterans, since we did not come here together on Veterans Day, but I do believe that you are the ones who make the foundation of what makes us a great nation, so thank you to all of you. I'm also just personally amazed at how great all of our neighbors are. I know we see little things here and there, tips, whatever, but people are just so good in this community, and I'm just grateful to everyone who's that way. So thank you for people who've helped me and other families out lately. Also, thank you to the Nassau Bay Garden Club for keeping us cool. And then, welcome to Officer Grundon. Did I pronounce it correctly? Okay, perfect. We're glad to have you here. I'd also like to say that the mayor and I attended an event on Friday last week, which was really cool. It was, the BAHEP was talking about the Texas A&M Space Institute that had the groundbreaking on Friday over in the Exploration Park area of Johnson Space Center. And it was really cool. It was a project briefing, and they talked about what it meant to the NASA JSC community as well as the local community. And it was really inspirational just to see everything that NASA's doing, which I know I probably see a little more often than Phil does, but it was just great to see everything they're doing and what they are trying to bring to this area and this community. It's really exciting. There's going to be a lot of growth, and they said that new $200 million building is supposed to be done in 22 months. So be on the lookout for that. There's going to be a lot of changes going on, and that'll be on Saturn Lane next to where the Longhorn area is. So excited about that. The Special Events Committee does have something coming up. I know they have a report. I don't think they're here. But I do want to say that they're open, and you guys are always more than welcome to show up, no matter what team or group or whatever you're on. Feel free to join, because they always need volunteers. And they will welcome you with open arms. And we do have a lot of good times coming up. I'm excited about the list that I know Spencer's made for everything that's happening on December 14th. So it's going to be a fun day. 9 events, I know. It's going to be a big day here. Get your golf cart charged up. And that's it. That's all I got for today. Lots of good stuff. Thanks.
All right, Officer Grundon, welcome. Happy to have you here. So yeah, it looks like we do have 9 events coming up on the 14th. I just signed up for the Reindeer Run. So Gail, if you want to go ahead and start getting a plaque ready for me, I plan on winning. So, with my name, perfect. Thank you so much. So I look forward to that. Also, curbs. Always going to talk about curbs. So fall sweep, we had a bunch of high school students come out and assist me with that. So we went down Martinique, did all the squares there. week later, we came back and we did a bunch of streets, San Sebastian, Hereford, Davon, Blanchmont, Antigua, Point Lookout, and Vinland. So you'll see a bunch of white squares. I'm slowly making my way around to get the numbers on there, but just so you know, we're only putting them on ones where you really can't see the number anyways, so it's not a detriment. It looks better, actually. But we're making our way around town, so you'll see those numbers start to fill in. But that's really all I've got. I just wanted to give an update on the curbs, say thanks to the Boy Scouts and the high school students that assisted with that, and then I look forward to the 14th.
I will echo welcome to our team. Happy to have you. I would say I'm looking forward to December 14th. I don't know if I can make all 9, 10, 11, 12 events. I actually showed up last night for this meeting, and the parking lot was dark and no one was in here. So thank you for being patient and flexible with our schedules. I definitely mixed it up. I don't think I have anything additional to add. Paul, I will say, like, the flower beds and all the things out on the streets are looking good, and you guys are working on that, so I appreciate that. But that's all I have.
Yeah, the fall sweep was good. I participated and planted flowers in Swan Lagoon with the shoes. They're a great family. We put all the kids to work. And with Miss Nancy Lynn and Miss Mayer, they cracked the whip and we got them all planted. And then we have, obviously, the Reindeer Fun Run on December 14th. I don't know how many times y'all want to hear that, but we're going to hear it again. Reindeer Fun Run and so many other things. I think the boat parade's happening the same time as the Christmas keyboard thing, so, pick what you want to do, I guess, or try to do both. But anyways, that's all I've got.
Just going to echo everyone's comments as usual, being the last person up here. The fall sweep was a great event. Thanks to all the volunteers who came out, and Paul Lopez and his team. We were out there at 7 a.m. delivering flowers all throughout the city. Thanks to Michelle Weller, Parks Committee, and all the Garden Club volunteers. Also want to point out the new little astronaut banners we have on Saturn and Nassau won. They're super cute, and I'm hoping we're going to get some holiday banners too to complement those. Thanks to Paul, Saturn Lane looks amazing with all the new holiday lights. I think we had the gift one fall over, so we've replaced with something new out there, but it all looks great. And then keyboards at Christmas. I know Jamie came up and spoke about that, but this is one I'm really passionate about. My kids have been taking from her for years now, and I've been listening to her want to bring this to life. So I'm super excited that with Gloria Day and Phil and everyone, we're able to partner with them and make this really become a reality. It does start at 6 p.m. Just a reminder, the Nassau Bay Boat Parade, I believe, starts at 6 p.m., but the Clear Lake one starts at 7. So you can technically... Spencer? But my point is, I think you can make a little bit of everything.
Fireworks and boats.
Yes.
All at the same time.
Yeah, so, no, that's about it. And I just want to say, the holiday season is fully upon us. And I know, we have some divisiveness, like Jessica alluded to, in the city, but I would just ask you to dig deep and really try and treat each other the way that you want to be treated and respect each other this holiday season. That's it. Thanks.
To me, and that's what I thought it was. I'll mention two things about some of the things. The first, yes, Officer Grundon, great that you're back, and it, to me, one of the real things we wanted to fix this budget cycle was being able to come up to full strength. So you are helping in that regard, and I appreciate that, and I appreciate the work that was done. That's very important for us in the city. I'll start with the piano event, with Jamie Roca and that. Gloria Day is sponsoring that, and they're actually opening up that free to that group. They look at it as something that they really want to promote. And one of the things, Jaime and Paul, I'd like to challenge you guys. It's not for here because we can't say anything, but I certainly would like to see if there's a way in which the city could help support them in their start off in funds. I'd like to hear how creative we might be able to be there. So I'll just throw that, even though it's not something we can take action on. The other is with the boat parade. again, we have all the things here, but we actually have now put a financial awards for the best in class for the boat parade, and because of that, we now have more boats that decorate, that start in the bay of Nassau Bay than even go by League City. So it is now becoming the destination or the origin which everybody starts, and it goes all the way through. So bring your camera, bring your things. There's probably going to be somewhere between 30 or 40 really well decorated boats all in the bay of Nassau Bay. So that's going to be great. And I don't know how we're going to coordinate all these events. I really don't. But I'll also say this, as I come from an industry that always talks about safety. The holidays is one of the most unsafe periods of time. Be aware there are a lot of people who are tense, trying to get Christmas presents done or whatever holidays they're looking at. The driving, the maniacs come out. Everyone knows, so just be aware and be safe. The last thing I'd like to do is come into the new year and hear some of our friends and neighbors that may be hurt seriously because just because they weren't keeping their heads up and watching out for others. Again, two things that I really want to call out. Thank you for getting rid of the boats. Paul knows what I mean. It was a very high priority for me. Where we tied them up, but it was in Speeding Alley. I was really worried there was going to be a safety issue with those, and I believe a really creative things, and I think we even got the Dead Boat Society and some other people and the city just, I'm really glad we no longer see those boats just floating out in the creek. I didn't know if people knew that. I hear all the time when things are there, but those are gone, and I'm really glad about it. Fall sweep between Parks and Rec, keep Nassau Bay beautiful, and the Garden Club. I cannot tell you how nice the city looks because of the actions. Not only did, by the help of those groups, they made a decision to change some of the types of flowers a year or two ago, and they have survived very well. So the augmentation has just made everything just huge and colorful. It's fantastic. And then I'll leave on some family things because we always talk about our EMT, emergency response, and that. I think people know I have our mother-in-law that lives with us, and she had a fairly serious event, and the folks from the emergency response in Nassau Bay were there like within 3 minutes. Got her out to the Clear Lake Hospital, and she got the treatment that she needed. And this is all when we were out of the country. So we had things set up and things like that. So those things happened, which we are just so thankful for the people in our volunteer fire department, the emergency response. That happened. It gives a real sense of confidence that family members are taken care of, particularly when they're in their advanced ages. Which comes to my last one, which is several on staff. I know the Garden Club and the others. Thank you for treating my 95-year-old mother to Nassau Bay hospitality. She was here and. Visiting at 95, and the welcoming mat came out, and I hear what you say with some of the things, but I believe a lot of that's gotten behind us, and I really am thankful about how the neighborhood shined in regards to just being neighborly, and I thank everybody for that, and that's all I have, and I'll move on. Reports from the staff and members. Paul, City Manager.
Yes, sir. Good evening. First, I'd like to thank my fellow veterans for observance of Veterans Day. We did something new this year and placed flags, all the Armed Forces flags in front of City Hall this year. It looked really nice. American flags on Nassau Bay Drive was really good. Second, we had the election here November 5th. So Maria, thank you for that, for helping. That was,
Thank you for that. That's, you know, you did a lot for that. Apologize for not mentioning that.
It was mentioned about the Saturn median lights. Please take a look at it. It looks really good. Matter of fact, we'll be going out there at night, taking a look before we leave tonight. And on Thanksgiving, after Thanksgiving, the crews will be out at Howard Ward Park, starting to get all the Christmas lights up, the palm tree lights up down the Upper Bay, going to get changed out. And we're in about a month and a half into the new fiscal year, and we're spending a lot of money. We're trying to get, I know Jaime's been on me and having some heart attacks, but we're pretty excited about all the capital improvement projects. And lastly, thanks staff, been working really, really hard, doing a lot of nice things. And so we're getting ready for the holidays, get some people out with some vacation, spend some time with the family. And so, yes, the Apollo Dog Park, like to mention that. We got some flyers here.
Yeah, the flag.
Yep.
Okay.
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 Yeah, you'll do a
that's
better
right.
job than me, so.
I wanted everybody to take one last look at it before it gets put in the plans.
Yep, okay. Keep going. then.
Okay.
Keep going.
And with that, I'd like to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving and
Be safe.
Be safe and have a good time and enjoy your family. That's all I have, Mayor.
Yep. Chief?
All right, thank you, Mayor and Council again. Excuse me. So the numbers for October 2024 for the police department: 256 calls for service, 50 reports, 130 traffic stops, 97 citations, 85 warnings, 12 arrests. 2 of those were felonies, the rest were misdemeanors, 5,344 patrol miles. And our average response time for last month was a little bit higher, 5 minutes and 55 seconds. So we had some calls that officers were on and had to, and some of the minor calls had to hold off a little bit. November 11th, we had our annual firearms qualifications over at College in the Mainland firearms range, and everybody's good for another year. So,
Excellent.
all right. Thank you very much.
Matt?
All right, good evening. So volunteer fire department stands at 40 members. So nothing changed there from last month. We were still looking at the calls, but based off our count before the meeting, we were at 41 calls. And then, as you all know, October is a big month for the fire service. And so our volunteer man hours for last month were 2,140 volunteer hours to the city. So thank all those guys for all they did with our open house and everything else we put together for Fire Prevention Week. But just a lot of other good events. So that's all I got for you.
That's almost 100 man hours.
Yeah, I almost did the math on the
It's
2080
I
for the
do
year,
math pretty
but-
quickly. It's just shy of about 100 man hours.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, FTEs.
FTEs, yeah.
For a month.
Full-time equivalents, yep.
Yeah. Wow. Thank you. Anything on EMS?
Yes, Mayor. Sean Doyle's working tonight, but he did give me his numbers, and the total calls was 108 calls for October. Contract cities, they had 19 calls to El Largo, 16 to Taylor Lake, Mutual Aid, League City 1, Pasadena 1, Seabrook 13, and Webster 21.
Okay. Can I make an addition to something like that? Can you just add some of the bad debt that we have? Because I have a very, I know this is a little controversial, but I really want to keep an eye on some of the people who don't pay that we do in regards to, pardon me? Yeah, for you know, collect, and particularly, my focus is on Webster, even though we do a lot of mutual aid with them. We tend to respond for them because they've restricted their resources, and I don't think we should pay that. I just like some visibility of that, and I think the citizens would like to see some visibility of that. I apologize for interrupting.
That's all I have, Mayor.
Okay. Code enforcement, Tony?
Currently, we've got 8 cases that we're working on. They have their high grass, fences and trash, dumpster issues, things like that. We've sent out 6 certified letters. We've got 8 possible cases that are going on. They're just warning cases right now where we just put door hangers on the residents, so we just keep an eye on those. We haven't turned those into official cases yet. No current citations have been issued. We attended a couple meetings on the sapphire mold issue still. That's an ongoing program that we're working on. And in the fire marshal's office, I've been assisting some of the businesses with fire drills lately, their annual fire drills that they do. A lot of the NASA contractors and stuff like that are required to do those once a year, so we go out and assist them. And then normal annual inspections are going on, including permitted inspections at Methodist. There's quite a few small remodels going on over there. And also been assisting Public Works here recently with the location of some water lines and fire water lines in certain parts of the city that we don't have any documentation on. We're trying to figure out where they're going and stuff. So we've just been working with them. That's all.
I had one additional comment. Tony's been on Frontier building the Point Lookout and Space Park. On their fence, it was completely down, and I noticed today it was all brand-new fence all around the building. So thanks on that, Tony.
Public Works?
Good evening. For Public Works, we've been pretty busy. We had 2 major water leaks, one on Martinique and one on Point Lookout. On the wastewater side, we had an emergency sewer line repair done on Antigua. It was approximately 350 feet of sewer line with 4 taps. The Parks Department sprinkler repairs have been ongoing, and the Parks crew continues trimming trees. For the Street Department, concrete work continues at Founders Park for the boat ramp. And we put out new traffic signs on Saturn to help with safety. We put directional arrows, do not enter signs, and one-way signs.
Can you, just real quickly, you mentioned that there were some emergency repairs for the...
Yeah, on the sanitary sewer line on Antigua.
So those are tie-in, are those at the T's or what?
The sewer line collapsed, so we pipe bursted about 350 feet.
Okay.
And in that section of 350 feet, there was 4 taps
Okay.
to 4 houses.
Understand. Thank you.
And one additional thing, Mayor, we're still working on the curbs at the entrances of the city. They're still pouring on those.
There's, I don't know, coming in, I saw that, was there some sort of accident up on Nassau? I mean, there's some curbs that were very, very damaged, it looks like. I'll come in. But it looks great. I mean, you can tell you guys have been focusing on those entrances. All of them look great.
Thank you.
Okay. Special events? We have 9 events on December 14th.
I think Spencer can give the report because he probably knows more than I do. I don't even know what time the Holiday in the Park is. Can you at least look at your list and tell me that? 1:30 to 3:30. I don't have a report from them. But thank you. All right.
Parks and Recreation?
So I did a little PowerPoint or like a presentation to show over, since we just started our new year on the Parks and Recreation Committee, I wanted to show some of the events that, things that we've done since 2 years ago. I've only been on the committee for 2 years. And also with Mike and Kathy's only been on the committee for 1 year, and Nancy's been on there with me for 2, but longer than that. And I want to say thank you to everybody that helped out with the fall sweep. That was really successful, and everybody did a great job. Thank you all for volunteering. Even some people on council came out, and the mayor, thank you. And to the person who stood up here, I can't remember her name, that said that, you know, we don't let people get involved. We have open meetings. Wednesday night, we have another meeting starting at 6 o'clock. Anybody's welcome to come. And the fall sweep is always advertised, and our events are advertised. You're welcome to come help with the events if you want. We're always looking for volunteers. But anyway, I wanted to show some of the projects that, and thank you, Chase, by the way. He's for all that he stepped out.
Hydraulic brake.
He did, okay. I want to thank him so much because he's really stayed on those curbs. We've all participated in it. I painted the curbs on Vinland, but with the little white boxes, but he's been really hitting it hard, so I want to thank him. And we got we have a lot of volunteers that come out from the Boy Scouts, and we have a lot of volunteers. We got them really heavily involved from the schools, too, and they did come out. We had about 50 people in the rain. Even Laura Ford, I want to thank her because We painted the yellow curb on Nassau Bay Drive that has been sitting there for 30 years, not painted. And we were putting out flowers in the rain, but it looks much better. We're going to finish that curb, but we haven't had a chance yet. Trying to, Eliza and his team has been doing such a great job, but we're trying to keep, them from having to do all this extra stuff since they have the sewage and stuff like that. So anyway, the next slide, I want to show you what it looked like at, if you go down, like, just hit page down. Yeah, you can go there. This was, when I first got here, down a little bit further. Yeah, just if you hit the page, go down a little bit so we can see the planters. Scroll down so you can see the planters. Yeah. So this is what it looked like when I first came in July of 2022, and here's what it looks like now. If you can go down to the next slide, this is what we've done. Renovated the basketball court. All the basketball nets are done, and we changed the court to be crosswise. So you see you see a father out there playing with his child, which you didn't see that before. So you can scroll down to the next one. It just looks beautiful, and you can see the kids' course. So if you hit page down, you could go to the next one. So this was the basketball nets. As you can see, they're dilapidated and destroyed, and we have brand new ones there now. So that's changed quite a bit. That was what they looked like before. And you can scroll down a little bit to the next one. That's what it looks like now. It's beautiful. And we put the blue benches in front of there so that way another car can't drive on there and destroy it, which happened not too long ago. So you can keep scrolling down. The pickleball courts are going to match this color, so it's a lot brighter and looks a lot prettier. So scroll down a little bit. This was the water fountain. Look at how dilapidated that was. All the water fountains actually look like this. So scroll down to the next one. You can see the brand new ones that they've just put in. We have both water fountains in David Braun Park by the tennis courts and here. And scroll down a little bit more. Also in Swan Lagoon got new water fountains, and Howard Ward Park has new water fountains. So we've had them all upgraded. So you could go down to the next slide. And these were this is down by the peninsula. Some people mentioned that they wanted to have some water down there, and this has a bottle filler. This is also by the the baseball field. So there's a nice little water fountain there too, so we added that. So keep going. And this was a dog park. It had a dirt floor, and you can see the paint's chipped, and the fences were kind of needed to be revived. And we go ahead to the next slide, and this is what it looks like now. We had the cement put in, new fences put in, so it looks great. Keep going, it's my dog. And this is what the pickleball courts looked like when I first got there in July of 20. I can't even believe it. When I saw that, I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe how bad it looked. And if you scroll down to the next one, you can see that's what the pickleball courts look like when we renovated them right before the hurricanes. And then the paint failed, so now they're going to wait until after December the 1st.
December the 1st.
Yeah, December the 1st to come back in and do the paint again. So it has to cure for a period of time, otherwise it fails. So, but that's what they will look like. And if you could see, there's a new road put in there, and the benches have all been painted a nice blue. So you can go to the next one. This is the practice tennis court. It looks so bad. And if you could scroll down to the next, that's what it's going to look like when it's all finished. That paint also failed in the flood. There was a tropical storm, and then there was Beryl. But it'll look like this when it's done, and we're going to come in and have to probably paint that backdrop. We'll get some volunteers out to do that. So that looks great. And you can go to the next one. This was the baseball field. I couldn't even believe it when I saw that. Now go to the next picture, and this is what it looks like now. Isn't that great? It's just beautiful. You guys have done a great job keeping that up, by the way. Thank you so much. It looks beautiful, and the families really enjoy it. And you can scroll down. We built a path. This is where the golf cart parking is now. Take a look at it now. That's what it looked like before. Go down to the next slide, and that's what it looks like now. All the families come out with their kids and go have wiffle ball tournaments, practice. There's a lot of kids out there. I've seen them, and you can drive your golf cart all the way around now in one direction. There's a path for walking and a path for the golf carts. Also, the road was all broken, and we repaired that too. You'll be able to. I think you fixed it so they can drive it now.
They can.
Okay. It was cut off for the pickleball, but they fixed it now, so you can go to the next slide.
Yeah, it's go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say is, yeah, we moved the fence line so that you can traverse the whole park now in the area for golf carts. And that's only that route is there, but you can now go the whole length without having to turn back around and go against the directional Thanks.
And for somebody that asked me about the tennis court lights, you guys went ahead and fixed that. Thank you for that. So those are fixed now. And we've got in the budget, and we're going to be looking at putting a couple of lights in at the pickleball courts. Many people have requested that, but that'll be coming once they get finished. And you can see it's kind of cute. There's a little, Paul Lopez got these little stencils where you can have a picture of the golf carts, and that's where you park. Isn't that cool? So yeah, keep going to the next slide. And this is coming soon. I believe that,
They're already
at least
there.
you've already ordered them. Are they here?
They're here, they're out there.
Are they out there? I didn't see it yet.
they're out.
Okay, I haven't had a chance.
They're up. But,
Are you, okay, so we're going to put in these golf cart signs that say share the road, and you can't go here or here's, we wanted to make it look like a golf course, so we ordered like golf course signs, so the aesthetic is there. Everybody loved it. So keep going. And this is where the water fountain is behind the baseball field. That's what it looked like when I first came 2 years ago. And this is what it looks like now. Isn't that great? There's a bike rack, and we have the water fountain that has a bottle filler in it right there next to the baseball field. So that's great. So you can keep going. And this is the sundial. This was one of the first things that we did on the committee. This was sitting in a box since 2019 when I think I first came on, and people were like, we got to put it out. So we found a place for it, and the garden club was so nice and put it in the reflection garden. Thank you, garden club. So you can see what it looks like now. It's gorgeous. Keep going. And that is the reflection garden. It's gorgeous. It probably looks even better right now, but that was
Michelle, can I cut in real quick? Michelle?
Yes.
In this picture, I've mentioned this palm tree a long time ago. I think it still looks like this. Is there any way we can trim these palm leaves?
Can you guys trim that?
I've tried to do this a couple of times.
Let's take care of Chase.
Sorry.
I thanked you for your curb
Sorry to
painting
butt in.
earlier, by the way, Chase. You missed it. I wanted to say how great you've been. And
Oh, well, thank you. But I did notice that, so I wanted to make sure.
Thank you.
That out.
Thank you for saying
sorry,
that.
Sorry to interrupt.
But that's all right. Okay, keep going down. And then the medians, they look like this. And we went around, as you guys can see. I think the mayor, thank you so much for complimenting the medians. And you can go and see we've renovated almost all the medians, so you can keep going down. Planted flowers everywhere that we could think of. And we also, it was the first time we had put out, they never used to put out flowers during fall sweep. But I said, no, we want flowers everywhere. I used to own a flower shop, and I was on the garden club. I don't have time now because I work during the day, but I still support you guys on a regular basis. Keep going. And we put out flowers everywhere. Here's a median before. Keep going down a little bit more. See, there's nothing there. It looks horrible. And keep going. And then we planted flowers and painted it. It looks so much better. And I think everybody's seen that around the neighborhood. We did almost all of them.
And there's now trees even on Nassau Bay Drive.
Even on Nassau Bay Drive, we got flowers on Nassau Bay Drive for Rod, and also palm trees. And I think we're going to keep going in that. We did Nassau Bay Drive, the front. I'm not quite finished with the curb. I'm sorry, it rained. But Laura Ford helped me do most of the painting of those yellow curbs, so I want to thank her. And there were a few other people that came out. Nikki Nelson. Was that you, Kathy, that came out? Public Works has been touching them up. Yeah, thank you. So keep going down. Howard Ward Park, these were the benches that when I first got there. And then one of them fell apart and fell on the ground, but keep going. And now that's what it looks like now. They have brand new benches. These benches have a 50-year warranty. And everybody likes them, and we planted a lot of flowers there as well, too. Keep going. Also, when I came, these benches and tables out there were black with mold. And my mother, I want to thank her. She helped me plant a lot of flowers out there, and she told me to use Wet It and Forget It on there, and then we turned all the tables white. Keep going. And all the benches, even by the garden club, I sprayed your benches, and all the mildew went away, and so that's what they look like now, bright and have flowers. So keep going. And these are the beds on Upper Bay Drive. That's what they looked like. Look, keep going down a little bit. There's nothing there. It looks horrible. So keep going. And now I think everybody knows on Upper Bay Drive it looks pretty good. We did this for the mayor's wife. I asked him what he want, and she said she wanted these beds to have flowers, and so she can drive by them. So if you're going down Upper Bay, I hope you enjoy these because I think they're gorgeous. So you can keep going. And thank you, Kathy Huff, for helping me put out the mulch there and plant the flowers there. This was the corner of Point Lookout and Saxony Lane. This is a little park dedicated to John Haugen's mom. And this is what it looked like before, and here's what it looks like now. And I want to thank Ashley Klug and her family for planting these. It looks gorgeous. Thank you. That was a fall sweep, but we keep refreshing that. You can keep going. In Swan Lagoon, keep going a little bit more. Nancy Lynn, thank you so much. We never would have had any of this without you. And your vision with Laura Ford and Jacob Ford, even before he was on the committee. This is what the playground looked like, if you can believe it. Can you believe it, Nancy? I look at it and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's what it looked like. And then it got spray painted by those people in the Airbnb. But this is what it looks like now. Keep going. Look at that. Oh my gosh, it's just gorgeous. We did a whole new sidewalk in there. Keep going a little bit more. There's an ADA merry-go-round. That's here. We ordered another one of those. It's going into David Braun Park. When is that going to be installed? Okay.
There's some infrastructure work.
Okay, so it's shortly. It'll be, yeah, these guys are doing a great job. They'll do it really quickly, I think. So yeah, in a couple months, we'll be able to have another one of these in David Braun Park, and the kids love it. So, and also, just everything pretty much. You added benches there, Nancy. I mean, it's like a brand-new park, Swan Lagoon. And coming up, we just put down that we put flowers in there, too. Nancy's always been planting flowers and taking care of it. And the butterfly garden there, too, is looking beautiful. Got some flowers for that as well. And we painted the sign on Swan Lagoon. We put in the lamps, too, in the front there. It just looks so nice. The only thing we have left to do is we want to paint that gazebo there. That was on our list of things to do. If anybody has any other great ideas, let us know. So keep going. A little bit further down, so you can see this rusted out bench. That was the rusted out bench on the corner of West Indies and Upper Bay Drive. This is what it looks like now. This bench was dedicated to Mary Gaza. She donated money to put this bench out. And we're going to dedicate to her husband when I get the plaque made in about a month. And we put out flowers here. That was done during fall sweep. We've been trying to keep that up as well. So it looks beautiful. Keep going. The Blue Star Memorial, we met with the Garden Club, and they said they wanted to do something with this here. And so I said, okay, why don't we make it a fall sweep project? And I want to thank Kim Clark for that, and also Goon and Kathy, and coming together and working that. They got together with a landscaper, and they put together this beautiful rock garden. Can you go to the next slide? It looks absolutely fantastic. So this was a joint project with the Garden Club and the Parks and Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful Committee. I went out there at night with the palm trees all lit up and sat out there. It's amazing. If you go to Chick-fil-A, get some food, sit out there. It's great. I can't believe such a little amount of money that we spent on that makes it look so amazing. So if you guys have any other ideas, please bring it to the committee. They've been at the committee. They come and give input, even though they're not on the committee, and they've done great. So thank you for that. That looks great. So we can go to the next one. Founders Park, I have to really give all the credit to Mike Barrett. Having grown up here, he brought to the last meeting the brochure, the original brochure for the city of Nassau Bay. And in the original brochure for the city of Nassau Bay, there was a boat ramp that was there, and you could launch little sailboats, and people would water ski out there too, in little small boats. It was great. He showed us that, and he said, you know, we wanted to do some things there. One of the things we wanted to do was put in the flower beds, and so wanted to clean it up so you could see the lake, actually. You couldn't see the lake before, especially if you were walking, and that's what it looked like before. So you can keep going. And this is it right there. It just didn't look that great. The grass didn't grow because of the trees. So keep going. And this is what it looks like now. You can see the lake. We cleaned all that up. Thanks, you guys, for doing that. You cleaned up all the trees and all that grass there. Some people now say they have waterfront property there because you couldn't see anything before. You can go to the next slide. And that's what it looks like at night. It's beautiful. That's where the boat ramp is, where you can launch a boat or a small boat, kayak there right now. Some of the people on the committee suggested we do yoga in the park there on Saturdays because it's such a great view. And you now see a lot of people in that park out there enjoying it. They love it. It's just so peaceful.
I've had a citizen inquire if they can do weddings.
Yeah, yeah. Somebody did a piano recital out there or something like that, didn't they?
That was Jamie.
Was that Jamie? Oh, yeah, that's great. So it's just so gorgeous and peaceful, and you can just see, you know, the whole lake, so that looks great. And thank you to all the volunteers that came out and put flowers there. So keep going. Bal Harbor never really was included in these things before, but I invited people from Bal Harbor to get on the committee. We have 2 people from Bal Harbor on the committee. And we started putting flowers over there, too. because they're part of our community. That sound wall, if you remember, was black when you drove by. It was so bad, and we got that pressure washed. And we put in flowers here, and now this is what it looks like now. It's beautiful flowers, and that sound wall is clean. And we even put it in one of those old-fashioned Nassau Bay lamps right there and put their American flag in. That pole was empty. It had no American flag, and we put that back in. I got together with the Boy Scouts and had them put in flags for us, so that was cool. So keep going. This is the Point Lookout wall. There should be the mayor, and I'm kind of blind, so there should be the mayor in one of those pictures actually painting this wall. And thanks to Megan, she helped organize this and coordinate it. I appreciate that. We got all volunteers out there to paint that wall. You see how black it was before, and we had all these kids out there. Kids loved it. So yes, children are invited to come. They love it. And keep going. And there it is afterwards. It's completely white. Go up a little bit more and you can see it. If you go up a little bit more, you can see the whole wall. There's the whole wall white now. And I think it looks good. It's been holding up pretty well for a year, hasn't it?
I think the paint's holding up the wall now.
Yeah, the paint's holding the wall up. We did have enough paint left that Megan let us paint the wall over by the pool. So we painted the marina wall. We painted the wall that had the Nassau Bay sign on it. We painted the swamp. We painted so many things. It was great. So, we had a nice donor, a private donor that took care of that. Thanks to that private donor, if they're listening. Keep going. And this is in the marina. I tried to that's how I got Kathy involved. I said, hey, she thanked us. She was driving by because her husband takes care of the marina. And I said, hey, why don't you get on the committee? And then she came on, and so we came there and painted up. Look how bad it looked before. There was no stripes, and we painted it, and that was Megan got involved and helped us, gave us permission to do that. Now, I think we need to redo it after the hurricane, but we'll get to that. But that's what it looked like afterwards, and we'll make it look like that again, and you can keep going a little bit. And also the street, you can see how you couldn't even read the word stop on there in the curbs, and so we ended up painting that, and you can keep going to see what it looks like afterwards. And it says Home of the Naughty Cats there, too, so. And we have a logo, a Naughty Cats logo that we're going to put up after when the season starts. We have that stencil. So keep going. And then this is to Chase, dedication. That's what the curbs looked like before, and some of them still do, so we're making our way around. If you haven't had it yet, I mean, you're welcome to pay for it yourself. This was just something we offered people. If they didn't want to pay for it, they could get it for free from the volunteers. So just be patient with them. I mean, this is people.
You know, you don't pay me, but you can reach out to me.
Reach out to chase.waterwall@nassawbay.com, and he will take care of it for you. But, be patient with people. These are volunteers. These are kids. This is people that are working in the heat and things like that. So it's not going to happen immediately overnight. But it looks better than that. The white square looks better than that, I have to say. So keep going. And so that's an example of what the difference is. Looks great. Thank you, Chase, for all your dedication, and keep going. And I think Michelle Barecki was helping me. I did a few of them too, but thanks to her too. So keep going. And these are some additions that we added. We added those old-fashioned Nassau Bay street lamps. So if you didn't live here for a long time or all your life, we used to have those as our primary lights before they put in those modern-looking, controversial, as I would say, ugly, generic. And I said, why don't you just save those and leave them there as a monument, because they were like historical monuments. I mean, if you see that lamp, you think of Nassau Bay in your childhood. And unfortunately, they tore them all down and threw them away. So we bought these and put them out on the medians, which I think everybody has actually loved. And then at Christmas, we made these wreaths and put up the wreaths, which we're going to do again. And then we also had these crepe myrtles put in on San Sebastian. One of our projects is to return the flowers there. If you haven't lived here very long, that used to be full of flowers and all kinds of bushes and plants. It was gorgeous, and we're going to return that there. This is the beginning. And those crepe myrtles were donated to us for free. Laura Ford did that, and we got them installed, thanks to the mayor. So keep going. And we also, like I said, got the Boy Scouts involved. They put up the flags. You can scroll down a little bit and see that we started a caroling event. At Christmas, we're going to do that again. It's going to be a kid event where you can bring your kids. And we'll go around caroling again. The mayor's going to light the tree. And they love this caroling. They didn't want to go home. And then we also had a paddling event that we worked with Jim Stoa, honorary member of the committee that shows up to every meeting. I don't know why he hasn't joined yet, but yeah, he ended up doing this fantastic paddle event that I've talked about with the veterans and benefiting Camp Hope, and it was like going back to the old school Nassau Bay, seeing boats out there. Yeah, it reminded me of old school Nassau Bay. So everybody had a blast, so keep going. We also brought in the moon tree, and you can go down just a little bit more. I want to see more of the moon tree. And there's those Home of the Astronauts banners that we put together. This is going to tie in with, if you guys didn't get a copy of the Apollo Dog Park logo, we tried to keep it in the frame of the moon trees logo. There's the moon tree now. It started out, some people called it a twig, but it was a little twig that could, and now it's growing into a gorgeous tree, as we knew it would. And right there next to this tree, this moon tree, and if you don't know what a moon tree is, it is seeds that went to the moon on Apollo 14, and an astronaut named Ed Mitchell that lived in Nassau Bay took those seeds to the moon, and they wanted to see if they brought them back to Earth, would they grow? Because ultimately, they want to have a base on the moon where they do grow food, and it looks like Elon Musk is going to make that possible. So that was part of the project. Artemis did also take seeds to the moon on their last trip, and we got some seeds from the Moon Tree Foundation. This lady who runs the Moon Tree Foundation travels all over the world, and people are begging her to put the trees in their neighborhood, and we are lucky enough to have 4. And we are going to be putting in 2 more, one dedicated to Buzz Aldrin and one dedicated to George Abbey. And that will be going in January the 31st. And we'll be talking about that event. The mayor's been leading that initiative up. He might have more to say about the Moon Tree event, but maybe not today.
Well, I was going to say, those trees, if you look at American sycamores, they'll be 60, 70 feet some 20 years from now.
So they'll be there forever, and it's it's for tourism. In the both hotels really love the whole idea. They think it's fantastic. You can see it from in your room outside of the Marriott. They've pitched it.
How much more do you have?
Just a few more. And then also I wanted to say that we're going to put the Buzz Aldrin statue right there with a list of all the astronaut names. You can keep going. And this is the Nassau Bay Apollo Dog Park. Paul talked about that a little bit. I passed that out. If anybody wants to get a copy of it, you can. And there's the QR code that if you go there right now, it's just a landing page, but it's going to have the history of the astronauts in Nassau Bay and pictures of them with their dogs and living in Nassau Bay. All those astronauts listed there were on the Apollo program, and they lived here in Nassau Bay. It's a lot more than I thought. I sent it out to Joyce Abbey. She contributed to it. Members of the neighborhood who lived here for a long time, Kathy Rice and others. Some people pulled me aside and said, come to my house. I want to show you the pictures of me with these astronauts, including McDivitt, whose wife was one of the founding members of the Garden Club. So that's pretty cool. And we're going to keep all that information on that webpage. So keep going. We're almost done. The other events we did was the Nassau Bay, the trophy has landed. The World Series trophy came here. We planted the moon tree, which I talked about already, so you can keep going. I'll try to wrap it up. We also have coming up new projects. We have the sculpture with the water feature. This is a sculpture that has a water feature and a slide in it. We're talking to this person right now to see if they can build sculptures, and it will be covered by hot funds. So this is something like what they can do, and we're planning that at the moment. Next one. We're going to get new trash cans. As you can see, there's some rusted out trash cans, so we're going to start looking at that and to replace those. Keep going. We also have this, was approved in the budget. Get down a little bit. That's a swing. We're going to put one down by the baseball field and maybe some on the water. We're exploring that for a new installation. Keep going. The dog park's going to get some upgrades. These little pieces that are going to, depends on the budget. So keep going. More picnic tables. If you notice, some of the picnic tables in David Braun Park are rusted out. And that is the end of my presentation. I probably didn't do everything. There was a lot more that we haven't done. And I know that there are some people on the committee who are, who it looks like their terms are expiring. I thought we had re-upped everybody to 2026, but I think there are some people expiring, and I would like to encourage council to re-up all of those people because we'd like to finish those projects that we started. And when we're done, every single park will be almost like brand new. So any questions?
Pretty comprehensive.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. We've got 3 items here. It is for consideration and possible action to approve the minutes of August 8th, 2024, the budget meeting minutes, August 15th, 2024, budget meeting minutes, and August 22nd, 2024, the special meeting minutes. Any of these that want to have pulled out, or any modifications, or anything?
The only thing I noticed was on August 8th, Pete Soroka's address was incorrect. Should be 18226. The only reason why I know that is because I'm going to get to your curb eventually, so I got you. But his address was incorrectly marked in there, so just want to change up.
Anything else? Then I'd like to call for a motion. We need a motion.
I'll motion to approve the meeting minutes.
You'll move for the, to approve the budget meeting minutes as listed in the,
With the correction that Chase made.
with the correction. Do I have a second by Chase? Any more comments? All those in favor? Passes 7-0. And old business, moving on, is, and this is what I'm pleased about, is council discussion and possible action regarding the agreement between the City of Nassau Bay and the owner, Dr. Mae Jamison, regarding property located at 18410 Kingstown Court, Nassau Bay, Texas, 77058, on the city's behalf. You may have some things here, but I think in the packet you can see the point of the spear, as I've said, has been helpful here. They have come back, and we have given them a deadline in regards to how long we think that time frame should be, and now they have complied with that.
They've met it.
And we're still going to be auditing them regularly, but I believe, if I look in here, I didn't see exactly, I thought it was 120 days, is that what it is, or 90?
End of December, wasn't it?
End of December, yeah, so it's in the next, yeah, so end of December, actually.
Yeah.
Everything should be done. So, no, but the key thing here is we told them that they were in default, and we are going to be talking in executive session again. We have retained the lawyers that are there in order to progress this, and we are going to force performance. It's probably going to cost the city, if it goes, I'm hoping it doesn't go that way, but it may cost the city as much as $150,000 to do that. But I think at some point you got to draw the line and say, what kind of city do you want to live in? And if people aren't going to live by it, we need to do that. It's a lot of money, but if you don't draw the line, other people will hit it later. So that's the good news. I appreciate the city attorney for translating that from just a new timeline to a deadline, and forcing that, saying we have begun the process to force performance in the courts. So this could go litigation by January 1 if it's not done. And the big thing there is going to be that outdoor wall and that driveway that I want to see fixed. So, but in any event,
Who came up with this document?
Pardon me?
Who created this document?
That was given to us by the owner.
So they're saying that that house is going to be habitable in a month?
That's what they said.
I would be very interested to see that.
Which we actually said from the things, it shouldn't take much. We were thinking, Paul and I kind of looked at it and said, this really shouldn't take much more than 60 days. And, they're now saying the end of the month. So, and that was 2 weeks, it was about 60 days. So.
That is very optimistic.
It is. Well, we'll see. All I know is we're drawing lines. And the reason for this is I want the citizens to know that we are going to force performance, and it'll go to court rather than just asking for her to participate. It is going to either show that it's getting done, or a judge is going to order her to get it done, and that's what's next. Okay. Anything else you want to add?
No, you covered it.
Okay. Any other questions, any other comments? Then I'm going to move on. The next is consideration and possible action regarding multifamily housing and public health. Paul, I didn't know if you want to give some more statistics on that. And again, this is for the audience.
Yes, Mayor. So we've been working with our code enforcement outsourced Safe Built company, and Tony's been helping also with this. And so originally there was 37 tenants that reached out to the city asking for inspections and the city to get involved. We did aggressively, and we started working with the management company, and they've produced their chiller maintenance agreement, their costs that they spent. That was done July 31st this year. And the residents have been signing consent forms to have their ductwork cleaning. Everything seems to be going well. And I've probably averaged 7 to 10 emails a week, probably in the last 3 months, and in the last 2 weeks, I've only received one.
How many permits have actually been pulled?
So they're actually going to be doing a follow-up inspection tomorrow. Safe Built is, and then we will get those numbers for tomorrow.
Okay.
And then also, I've been reaching out, and so I hadn't had any response from the tenants that normally I've been speaking to on a weekly basis, and so now it's down to just probably perhaps meeting with the owner and then seeing where we're going from this. And up to date, we have spent $16,860.84 on legal fees.
Have we inspected the chiller?
That is a discussion for tomorrow.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And I have all the attachments from the chiller inspection, the quarterly inspections from Huntington Company.
Okay.
And so hopefully tomorrow we'll hear some really good news.
Any questions here from people on council?
So the chiller was inspected and they're cleaning the ducts, but when it was inspected, did that mean it passed inspection, or what does that mean?
Yes, they did they inspected the cooling tower and then the commercial, let me see, the cooling tower and then the commercial.
They did that. This is not what we.
This is not what we did.
It was done by the vendor of the chiller.
Soon as we.
Of the owner.
Oh, the
Yes,
owner
of the
inspected it,
owner.
not the
Correct.
chiller. Oh, I'm sorry, I thought it was from the
Correct.
manufacturer of the chiller itself.
No, Huntington Services actually did the chiller inspection, and they actually do work for the city too. They've done work on this building.
So the chiller passed inspection.
According to their records, yes, ma'am.
So does that mean they believe that issues where residents didn't believe the chiller was working are due to the ductwork?
That we'll probably find out a little bit more about that
Yeah,
tomorrow.
I think there's some green in between here, because there's no question that chiller was challenged this summer. And I think what they did was more show a maintenance agreement than really what I call an inspection.
Yeah, that's what it sounded, yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
Oh, yes, sir.
So I think to me, one of my real goals is to get that inspected, by an engineer, whether it's the manufacturer or whatever, because, the heat transfers, the condition of that exchanger bundle, all that should really be done.
Yeah, okay.
And I think there's going to be a lot more to do here,
And
personal
the
opinion.
ability to remove moisture.
Correct.
Is going to be key.
Well, all that's temperature control, right? That's what it's there for. Okay? But we should know more tomorrow?
Yes, sir.
In regard to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And will we get that report next week, or will it come to the next agenda?
As soon as I get it, I will pass it along. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Hopefully soon.
Any other questions here? So again, for folks, we've spent almost $17,000. Have we inspected the ones at Bay House? Has that started yet?
So the Bay House there was originally 10, and I've reached out to the head of the person that was helping with that, and a few times, and I've only got one response, and so that's being inspected. So it went from 10 to 1, so I don't know, maybe they moved out, or maybe the problem was corrected, but again, management has been notified and has given us their records. So we're staying on them pretty good.
So, okay. Any other questions? I just want to keep this in the forefront of people's minds. Then I'm going to move on. New business. This is consideration and possible action, the first reading of ordinance number 2024-02-12B-1, an ordinance of the City of Nassau Bay, Texas, amending ordinance number 2024-02-12-B, establishing criteria for the creation, establishment, or appointment of citizens to city boards, commissions, committees, which are deemed necessary to carry out the functions, obligations of the city. I think Councilwoman Horton, I believe this is yours.
Yes, so, I helped create the original ordinance on committees and boards and commissions, and I felt like after review of that and after examining other cities in our area, that there should be a residency requirement of the members of these volunteer citizen committees. I would argue that the way it's written already, from a pool of citizens, that, when we created this, we intended it to be Nassau Bay residents, when we wrote it. Additionally, our own online application for boards, commissions, and committees specifically asks people how long they've been a resident of Nassau Bay. So what I would also argue that it is presumptive that people serving on these committees are residents of the city. The mission statement and bylaws described by the composition of KNBB, right, Keep Nassau Bay Beautiful, says it consists of park committee members plus an additional 5 residents of the city. Also, further proof that this is supposed to encompass residents. Additional reasons to amend this ordinance if the original ordinance isn't interpreted in that way, are presumptive enough to mean residents of the city of Nassau Bay. We've had lots of emails from citizens in the city and residents of the city saying that they support the requirement that committee members be residents of the city. And some of them said, I can't believe this is even a thing that we're having to discuss. And I think that might be why we didn't feel a need to put it in the, committee ordinance in the first place. My feeling is we have to let people who reside here have positions on these committees. We want to foster engagement from people who live here, and we want to encourage people to get involved. And why would we allow a person that's not residing in the city and using the city's facilities daily dictate how money is spent, what improvements are being made? Additionally, other committees and boards we require residency from. Obviously, council in the city charter, council members have to be residents of the city of Nassau Bay. EDC bylaws state that each member must be a resident of Nassau Bay. The Maritime Safety Committee that we just created not too long ago requires residency. And that's a very recent committee that we've created. I honestly think that this aspect of this committee fell through the cracks. It should have been put there, the residency requirement. I think residents have a vested interest in seeing the progress of the city and seeing projects through, more so than a landlord, an STR owner, or a commercial property owner. One of the emails we got was from somebody that owns commercial property in the area but also resides in the city, the gentleman that owns Irma's. And I thought that it was very telling that somebody like him would say, no, I think that you need to reside in the city to serve on a civilian committee. Obviously, I'm talking about committees that are, I guess, not dictated by other rules. Like, obviously, there's other committees that are dictated by other rules, like, and those committees are exempted in the original committee ordinance, right? We talked about the EDC is obviously a little different. It's got its own bylaws. The Nassau Area Management District is different as well. So there are different rules that govern those bodies, but these civilian committees are governed by the city. Would we allow, Coal Valley Partners as a property owner to serve on the Planning Commission? No, we would not. Because their interests are not the same as the interests of the people who reside in the city. Additionally, this is important to me, and I think it should be important to everyone else. Most, if not all, other cities around us require it on their boards and committees, require residency of the people serving on their boards and committees. Some going as far to require a residency length requirement, and that the individual be a registered voter in that city. Okay, for example, League City, the applications require that you be a registered voter of the city as well as have resided in the city for at least 6 months. Seabrook, their civilian committee, that it's called the Open Spaces and Trails Committee, requires that the person had resided in the city of Seabrook for at least 12 months preceding appointment and be a registered voter of the city of Seabrook. City of Houston, which obviously has a massive amount of boards and commissions. You look at their boards and commissions site, which, by the way, is pristine, and I would love to emulate it. You click on it, it tells you exactly who the current members are, where the vacancies are, when people's terms are up, and the requirements of whether the person is a resident of the city of Houston or not. 95% of the ones that I clicked required that you be a resident of the city of Houston. Okay? The city of Dickinson also said, unless the authorizing ordinance or law creating the board or commission specifically allows otherwise, so we're talking about things like Nassau Area Management District, bodies that are governed by other rules, okay? All applicants and appointees must continuously reside within and be qualified voters of the city of Dickinson, Texas. And applicants are even required to provide their voter registration number upon application. Okay. All of this being said.
I'm sorry to interrupt. So are you saying that people that are on these things are you advocating for registered voters to be, like, that's something to be a requirement?
They have to be registered in that city. They have to be registered there.
Okay. You do realize that we have minors that are on some of these committees?
Who?
So we have minors that are on some of these committees, and they're not going to be registered voters?
Oh, okay.
Well, I'm just saying, I'm just kind of.
I'd like to chime in here a little bit too, because
I haven't finished my spiel, but I will pause and I will spiel more when you're done.
Go ahead.
No. I'm saying all this. I know that people are turning this into a thing, and it's not a thing. It's to me, it is the way it should have been written originally. This is not precluding someone from volunteering their heart out. Volunteer all day long. That is great. But my concern is that if we're allowing someone who resides outside the city to spend money inside our city, additionally, this is, taking a spot from someone who lives and resides in the city who has applied for the role, is taking it away from them. And that is where the problem lies.
I see it, and to me, when I read this, and I wasn't involved in writing this, you make comments that it's that all things are that way, and that all residents and that should be on these committees, but that's not the case today. And even on the boards like the EDC, and the ones I'm really concerned about are the TERS, the Nassau Area Management District, and things like that, require we have people there. So I'll say it.
But this
Let me-
ordinance
can I-
doesn't
may I-
apply to
may I-
those.
May I please finish?
But this
May I-
ordinance I'm
may I
changing
please-
doesn't
Yeah,
apply to that.
You just talked. No, they do. They actually.
No.
No.
It
So-
exempts them.
No, it does not, because it exempts us in the things for the terms and things like that, but we did not exempt them in regards to who we get named. And this is not something which is for citizens committees, this is for all committees. This is for all in the language here. It's there. So let me just stay here. We right now have been trying to recruit the CEO for Methodist to be sitting on our boards. We've got Fred Griffin, who's here on the things. We've had the general manager of the Marriott. We've had the general manager of the Hilton. We've even had people at the Moody's family. These are very prestigious, well-known participants, and if we're looking at doing the economic development that we did, I'm actually shocked, and I'm even going to say his name is that Roscoe Lee, when we did the whole development that listed here, he had huge participation from outside to be able to do that, because we just don't have the internal knowledge to be able to do that, and they're on these committees. So, I mean, I'm with you, and it's some of the things with one of the citizens, this has kind of been parlayed into like the Weller exclusion here or that. I'm really concerned. I think this is too broad. I think it's going to be things in the narrow. I think this has repercussions around who we select in all our boards as the city. And I personally do not want to be involved in telling Mr. Little that after he's agreed to be a part of on board, that we are going to say we've passed a bill that excludes his ability to participate in the city. And I think that's wrong. I believe we need those people. I believe there's some things here. We already have the power as a city council. If there's anything being partial to not achieving the goals of any one committee, I don't believe that there should be this level of regulation. But I am most specifically do not want to exclude the people like Fred Griffin, Carl Little, Ramus at
And it
the-
would not. It would not.
It absolutely
No,
would.
because
No.
the ordinance lists, whereas the ordinance strives to accomplish said goals established by city charter and shall prescribe and enforce criteria for uniformity in said structure, function, makeup, term, and duration of all boards, committees, or commissions of the city, save and except the following boards, commissions, and committees that are expressly not covered or governed by these directives. The Economic Development Corporation, the Nassau Bay Management District, the TERS, the Planning Commission, the Charter Commission, the Board of Adjustment, and the Animal Shelter Compliance Committee. All of those are exempted from this ordinance that I am amending. So the only committees that are even covered by this are outside of those exact exempted committees. Okay? So, Mr. Gregg, am I correct?
No, that is correct. Those 7 committees are excluded from the effect of this ordinance. You have to read this change that's on the agenda tonight in conjunction with the ordinance number 202402, the one that's being amended, because that's where the language is that targets it only on ones other than those 7 committees that are excluded.
So it would absolutely not affect
It would not
Carl
affect-
Little's ability to get on the Nassau Bay Management District.
That's correct.
Why did we term limit Cindy DeWeese then?
Yeah.
I don't know.
What did you, I'm sorry, Lucy, I didn't hear you.
She was on the EDC, wasn't she?
We term limited Cindy DeWeese.
It's got its own separate rules.
No, we did it.
We did it based
through
on
the
this
common.
ordinance.
We did it through the common things here. So basically, what this is saying is we had a common set of rules for how we were going to do every single, term here, and now we're going to carve out one that's going to, or the things here in order to separate it from all the rest. When I believe Councilwoman Horton led the effort to say we needed to have a standard process here, and now we're deviating from that.
The reason that these were pulled aside is because they are governed by different rules that are not our rules.
But we put in place the term limits.
Right.
Because we have the ability to do, and the Economic Development Corporation, the Nassau Area Manager, all have those separate rules. Now, you may be saying.
They're separate term limits.
For this ordinance. No, they're all identical. They're all identical. And we made an effort to consolidate, streamline, and take out the confusion, because there was a lot of confusion around people having various.
You were a part of this too, Phil. You were there and you created this when we pulled this out.
All common.
You, me, and Chase, right?
But they were all common. Now we're staking it out, and we're saying it's not going to be common. That the Economic Development Corporation will have different rules than what we have for
Well,
things.
EDC is governed by bylaws. It is a corporation.
All I'm saying is I believe this was done for a very narrow view that has bigger repercussions here. I'd like to see here, I mean, I don't know what others think, but I'm very worried about how this impacts other areas.
All right, everybody calm down. It got a little loud up here. Okay, so, based off of what I've heard and what I've read, I think there are some issues. I agree. I like the residency thing. I think it's a great thing. People should be vested in their communities. People should be accountable. But I think there's a couple of things that are coming out, and I don't know what precipitated this. I know we've been looking into commissions and committees and boards. It seems like it may be something that would be outside of that. But that aside, I will say, Sarah brought up a few things here. Vested interest, seeing projects through. We've got people on committees right now that we've seen some of it tonight, that people are heavily invested in some of these committees, and I think where this is going, that individual would no longer be able to participate. Now, Sarah also mentioned something about would we allow a business, like the stores that were going to come in that ultimately didn't, would we allow them to basically get on these boards, dictate kind of how we would spend our money? If we're going off of what Sarah has said here, the committees that this, and this is again taking what Sarah has said, the Parks Committee, the Street Task Force, Infrastructure, Maritime Safety Committee, Palm Tree Committee, the Nassau Area Management District, and the Special Events. Ultimately, you're going to have to apply to get onto that committee anyways. So you're going to have an application come through this board, this council, to allow people to get onto these committees. Then there is, we just went through a budget. We're going to have to approve these budgets. So it's not like these people get onto these committees and these boards and they just run rampant. They still have accountability with this council. We obviously all meet whatever these requirements are for residency and whatnot. So I don't think we need to get all up in arms about these people are just going to run rampant and do whatever they want with our city. That being said, I got a lot of emails this week. I don't normally get that many emails to my city account. I responded to everybody that sent me an email, and if you didn't get one, let me know and I'll send you one right now. That being said, I kind of went through and just kind of tried to break this thing down to understand it, because, this city's been around for a long time. I don't think this has ever been something that's been brought up and has been needed to be addressed. That being said, the people that responded, or at least reached out to me, they wanted accountability, they wanted people to be invested in their community, and they want people that understand the needs of this city. Obviously, I think all of our boards and commissions are doing that. I mean, everybody's participating in this community for a reason. I've gotten emails that said specifically they want people knowing what's going on the roads and in the neighborhoods. They want people invested in the welfare of Nassau Bay, and they know that people have influence on the nature of this city and how we move forward. That being said, this ordinance, the way it's drafted, I don't know who drafted this, if it was Sarah, if it was Dick, if it was somebody else, it's a little too rigid. Because it talks about, in the event that a member becomes a non-resident during his or her term, that shall operate as an automatic resignation of his or her position. Now, as an attorney, I can kind of see both sides of this, but I kind of got to look at the gray areas, right? And so when you look at this, for somebody that had a medical issue and has to go reside somewhere else very briefly, while they're still invested in this community, they still want to see this community grow, this would automatically resign them from any position that they have. They would then have to go through the process of applying again, and that would be a long, drawn-out process. And as Sarah said, we want people seeing through their projects. So I agree with her 100%. We need to have people that are on these boards and commissions, and they're consistent in what they're doing. I think this black and white ordinance here is not going to be consistent. I'm somebody that doesn't like a lot of involvement, like government involvement in our lives. And this would be something that would be like, okay, well, now you have to resign, and someone's going to have to reach out to that individual, or we're going to have to find out that this individual doesn't live here anymore, which, you know, is kind of going over and above what we need to be doing. And I think I kind of wrote this out. Flexibility encourages broader participation, right? So if we have this black and white, like, hey, you no longer reside here, no matter what your circumstances are, you're done, you're gone. That's not going to encourage people to participate in these committees and boards. So I think having some flexibility, and I'll get to my kind of 2 cents on how to address that, but I think having some flexibility would allow more people to participate and want to participate. Now, the enforcement portion of it, I don't know if Chief's going to be knocking on people's doors or how he enforces this. I know we've got, and he's shaking his head over there, I know we've got an application that asks you for your residency. That seems sufficient. I mean, one of the things that I came up with would be self-certifying, right? Hey, I live here. Hey, I have property here. Hey, I'm somebody that's, you know, wanting to be involved in this community. I mean, are we going to require people to submit IDs? I think Sarah had brought up Leak City. I think that's one of the things that they would do, or voter registration. And the reason why I brought up the minors on some of our commissions and boards is they're not going to have that, right? I mean, obviously their parent would be able to vouch for them, but that's just an additional step. So are we going to have?
I'm not
you know,
asking for minors to submit.
That's fine, and I'm not saying you are. I'm just saying that these are the things that I think about when I see something very black and white like this, because there's a lot of questions that come up that aren't answered in the black and white of this ordinance. To kind of go on, the automatic resignation portion of it. You know, I got an email from a citizen that mentioned, you know, what if there's a natural disaster? What if there's a hurricane? What if there's a fire and they're temporarily displaced? Again, we, as Sarah said, we want to have people seeing these projects through. So if, hey, sorry, John Doe, you had a fire, now you can't be on the Parks Committee. I know you were working on those benches. I know you were doing the fall sweep, but I'm sorry, you're no longer allowed to be on there. You can't have a voice. You can still, as Sarah said, volunteer and participate, but you don't have any say as to what goes on with the deciding factors. So I kind of came up with a few things that I think would remedy some of the black and white issues, and people may have an issue with it. People may want to nitpick it. That's perfectly fine. This is obviously our first reading, so we're not making any decisions on this tonight.
That's the other thing I was going to say.
Yeah, so
I know,
that's why I kind of wanted to bring out a few things, if you don't mind.
Keep going.
So if you look at this ordinance, I don't know if anybody else has a copy of it out in the audience, but it says, a non-resident of the city shall not be eligible for appointment to any board, commission, or committee. In the event that a member becomes a non-resident during his or her term, that shall operate as an automatic resignation of his or her position. That is very rigid. Now, I included a couple of things that I think may remedy this. So as soon as that sentence is finished, I would include, unless the member meets one of the following exceptions. There'd be two of them. One would be a grace period exception. Members who temporarily lose residency may retain their position for up to 90 days, provided they notify City Council of their change in status and demonstrate an intention to reestablish residency within the city during this period. So that would give people, like, you know, the email that I got about the fire, the natural disasters, the hurricanes, would give them an opportunity to say, like, hey, we want, as Sarah said, people to see these projects through. So they would still be able to participate in the actual committee and commission and board, but they would have a little bit of leeway, like, hey, we understand you're currently displaced, you will have an opportunity to come back, and then obviously you can continue, obviously, through your efforts. We recently had, and this was another email that I got, again, the feedback that we got was great, so thank you guys for doing this. I wish it was like every single thing that we worked on. It would be very, very helpful. But one of them was a recent resignation to the Maritime Safety Committee. That individual moved to another state, so they were like, hey, I'm resigning, I'm done. Like, that makes sense, right? But had that person, you know, had a damage to their house, under this ordinance, if they were temporarily displaced, hey, sorry, buddy, even though you just got on this committee, you're no longer on it. So I think that this would kind of remedy kind of a short-term thing. The next exception would be extenuating circumstances appeal. So this would read, members with extenuating circumstances that impact their residency may appeal to City Council for a case-by-case review. Upon review, City Council may grant a temporary or ongoing exception if it determines the member's continued service is in the best interest of the city. So this would kind of address some of the things that Sarah had brought up. She clearly wants people to see these projects through. If somebody is going through an extenuating circumstance, we can see that and say, okay, we understand what you're going through. You can continue to participate. We get it. some of the extenuating circumstances, and this is not an exhaustive list, but it is just one that I kind of came up with, temporary work assignments, family and personal health issues. I know some people go stay with family, temporarily, they rent out their house while they're taking care of family members. That would be something that would, be under this. A housing transition, military service, bureaucratic delays. Maybe they're trying to buy the house. I know there's a house on Nassau Bay. They've been building that house for like 4 years. So, I mean, yeah, well, as long as I've been here, they've been building it. It was an empty lot for a long time. But that's one of the things, like, are we going to say that that person resides here? Or, I mean, they own a home here. They're technically, that's their house. It's just not finished yet. So that would be one that
I
would.
would think that these people wouldn't qualify as their domicile actually
That's
changing.
fine.
They'd probably still
That's
be
fine.
receiving
And so, as I was
mail
saying,
at that
also,
address.
I would say,
make it
if
clear.
there are, I'm almost done. If there are, hurricanes, things that it's something that's longer than 90 days, that would be an additional extenuating circumstance. So say somebody comes in under the first exception, and they're like, hey, I should be back in like 65 days. Well, it persists, and it's 95 days. Well, then we can have this address that. Also, people are raising their homes. Sometimes people stay in their homes, some people don't stay in their homes. So they may be staying in an apartment, staying with family members, staying somewhere where they're not currently resided here. So I think that this is a little bit harsh for the way that I would like to have this done. We are in a community where we've seen so much growth just with my time on council. I mean, you can look out in the community, there's people that are being involved in like events, people being involved in committees and boards and parks, and I think whatever the reasoning was behind making it a hard line with an automatic resignation, I'm not sure, but I think that we as a city who have great neighbors, people that want to be involved in our community, I think we could see that there needs to be a little bit of leeway here and understand people's circumstances and not make it as harsh as it currently is. So I know that there's going to be some nitpicking with what I said, so please have at it. I just wanted to give my I guess, 10 cents on that.
Yep. The only thing the two things that I had concerns on this was, one, I thought this was very narrow, and when I looked at the things that are not expressly covered or governed by these directives, that means if it's not said or have any comments to those that have other bylaws, that this would apply. And I think that's why the EDC was, we had Cindy DeWeese, have to resign because it was term limits. But again, I'm very worried about the breadth of that. The other is this whole effort was started based off of our city secretary asking about how to simplify and coordinate the ways in which people got appointed, that we would be looking at setting up like a July timeframe for things, because the system that we've created is too laborious. And that was given direction for city attorney for an ordinance to look at this, and none of that's in here. None of it is at all, and that was specifically done by council direction last, in October. So, I mean, I get that we want to look at things and say, hey, we may have some restrictions around, who all may be on there, but I don't want it to be something that puts a hindrance on our economic development, because we are right at the cusp of doing the things right there at the Sapphire and other places. And I also want to make sure we address the original reason we said we wanted to do this, which was to help our city secretary manage all these appointments. And none of that is in here. Yes, but I mean, that's what this ordinance, when we said with the ordinance, that's what we wanted to have that to be a part of. And that was what was task for the city attorney, and we said we'd get involved to say how we do that, and none of that's in this.
So, that aside, and I agree that that's not what it seems like. We talked about it all in October, but I think that this also is extremely limiting in that we don't just have citizens that volunteer, and I'm not talking about the exempted things here, but we've had a tourism committee in the past, or we've had people who work in the hotels that want to be part of that. I also talked to two of the women who work at the Hilton on Friday and had really good conversations with them, so I wouldn't want to restrict them, even for any kind of these committees that we form and take away. The list we had last time that was inaccurate had a palm tree committee, so if you're telling me someone from the Marriott that wanted to be on a palm tree committee wouldn't be allowed to because of XYZ, I think that there's important partnerships we have with our businesses, and I don't like excluding our business owners from the ability to serve on our committees. or employees from
Again,
businesses.
I'm going to say that the ordinance that I'm amending excludes specifically these 7.
But the tourism committee was
The
never-
tourism committee was eliminated by us.
I
It no
know.
longer exists.
It does
We
no
had,
longer
we had
exist.
people who participated, and
And I think that there was a
may happen
promise to
again.
create something new with those members, and that never happened.
Okay, and
So-
now we're limiting the ability to that happening.
Do we even need to change this?
No.
I mean, Sarah said it herself. There's an implication in there. It's been something that's been in effect for the entire existence, I would imagine, of this ordinance, and I don't think it needs to be changed. I mean, we have the ability to kick people off committees or vote people off committees or whatever it is. So if we see that someone's no longer a resident here, no longer participating, I mean, and I appreciate the chart here, but I mean, if we see somebody that's like, hey, John Doe is on the Parks Committee, he's no longer living here, he hasn't lived here for 6 months, like, can we just get him off the committee? Like, we don't need to have that person filling a spot. So, I mean, I think that I get the reason behind it, and I'm all for it. Like, I love the ability to have residents and people that are vested in this community, but I just think that there's a better way of doing it. Even our own agendas, not the one tonight, which for some reason didn't include it, I went back and looked at it. Even when you want to come up here and speak in front of council, like you have to have, I wrote it out, persons having an ownership interest in property, residents. I mean, we are allowing people to come up here, and we mentioned, are we going to allow these people to kind of have a say in what we do in our city? Yeah, we absolutely do. We let them come up here and talk all the time. So I don't think that there's a need to change it. I think that, the committees, obviously, they need to be sorted out, because apparently I'm not even on the Parks Committee anymore. So there.
Yeah, you are.
Yeah, I know I am, but it says October 2024. Aren't we in November?
That's what I was going to say.
It says October 25.
Well,
This,
wait, no. There's a
I
vacancy
still
for your
think
spot.
this, I still think this has
think
issues
we're
with
kind
it.
of-
Let's just put it that way.
I think we're kind of
Correct.
putting the cart before the horse, and I think that we just kind of need to address these committees. I appreciate the effort. I agree with the effort. I just think that there's a better way to do it.
So you're saying it's implicit that it
That's what
encompasses
you're saying.
residents?
It's implied in it, but I mean,
No, but you just said that. You said, do we need to change it? I mean, people that live here,
well, then
it
let's get to the
includes people
residency
that-
thing. What are we saying is residency?
Somebody that lives in the city.
And they split their time 50/50. How do you audit that? You can't, how do you define
That's
residency?
what I brought up
So
with my
let's talk about
enforcement
this
project.
reasonably. Do you
This opens
believe
up a
that a
huge can of
CEO of one of our business citizens should qualify as being able to be a part of any of our boards?
I think they can volunteer. I think the
Well,
problem is.
they would qualify to be on the Nassau Bay Management District
So, but I'm
because
just
this
saying.
is
let me-
exempted
let me-
from the.
Let me say
I feel
it
like I'm
again.
beating a dead
I'm
horse.
asking about your residency, clause. Do we feel that somebody who is a general manager of 4 or 5 of our largest businesses here, 6 of our large businesses, should be restricted from participating in things that go to the governance of our city?
I will say to that, like I said, they have an opportunity to come up here and talk. I think people that have a vested interest in this absolutely should be able to participate.
Yeah,
And if they want to come up here and talk, or if they want to be able to participate in these committees, they can submit an application, and we as council can decide whether or not we want to have that person on there. I think they should have an opportunity to, but I think that the notion behind this, the residency, the vested interest, the accountability, I love all of that. I think that is what we need in this city. That's the whole reason why I moved to Nassau Bay, because I loved this city. I grew up around it. I kind of idolized it, and I was like, I want to live in Nassau Bay. I think the first committee I was on Parks Committee. At one point, I think I was on like 4 or 5 different committees.
too.
So I get why we want to have people that are vested in it. I get why we want to have people that are seeing projects through. I just don't know why we're doing this. I don't know what the motive behind was. Like I said, Sarah had stated, and I guess she says that I said that it was a residency requirement, or it's implicated in here. It may be implied. It says citizens. I don't know where citizens is defined, whether it says it's citizens of the state, the city, the county. I don't know exactly what that means. But I think that this is just kind of put in there very rigidly, and I think that it's something that we should do. I think we should have a requirement that people are vested and they want to participate, but we as council get to make that decision ultimately, if we want to have them on these commissions and boards. So we have the final say no matter who ends up applying for this. I mean, John Doe from Kansas could apply, and we could say, well, we don't want you in here, you don't live here, you don't have
Again,
any
I
involvement here.
don't know
so-
whether it's a business owner, like somebody, like we mentioned about Methodist. I don't know if it's just property owners. It may be, or whether it should be, whether they vote here, or whether or not they've established to participate. I don't know. But I agree with Chase, is I think this is limiting more so than it's thought, and I'm concerned.
So here's, and I haven't spoken yet, and I'm just going to say my piece and be done, but I feel like anyone who holds a chair or a head of a committee should reside in Nassau Bay. They have vested interests, they know what's going on in the city, they reside here, all the things. That doesn't mean you can't volunteer on a committee in general, no matter who you are. That doesn't mean that if you're the CEO of Methodist, you can't come in here and plant flowers. What we're saying is that someone that chairs a committee should reside in Nassau Bay and have the vested interest for this city, not a business owner, a resident.
Well, I'm saying a member.
And I want to take a CEO from Methodist is probably going to come in and say, how do we want to design a whole flower bed and how we do that so other people plant. I mean,
Sure.
they're going to be the ones wanting to be part of the design
And they can give a
things,
voice.
and maybe even finance it.
Sure.
And
The CEO of
That doesn't mean that they have to be a chair of a committee, though. That means that
No,
they
I
have-
agree with you on the chair. I mean, but what I guess I'm saying is I don't think they should be precluded from participating.
They would not
We're not
be.
saying that they can't be.
This says that.
No, no,
to
then
me, it's-
this, oh my God. Okay. The Nassau Bay Area Management District is where the CEO of Methodist wants to be on. And it is exempted from this ordinance. I don't know how many times I can say
That are
it.
expressly not covered or governed by these directives.
Yes, these 7 are excluded from the ordinance that I'm amending.
Only for what the things are that if they say it in their rules.
No.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
That's not how I read it. Anyway, so let me ask, where do we want to go with this? I mean, if we're going to want to do anything, either.
I like Chase's idea about I do think that a non-resident of the city shall not be eligible
So
for
what it-
appointment. That makes a lot of sense,
So that's what I'm
Agreed.
saying. Go
Agreed.
ahead.
Before they got on, they should prove that they're a
Paula.
resident.
Paula, go ahead.
I think we ran on fixing committees, and it's a process. It's not a short-term process.
Yeah.
It's a very long-term process, and we are hearing different ideas. We are struggling with notifying committee members that they were up in October. So we're really working on it. My philosophy would be, and I'm a compromiser, I would like to have a philosophy coming from this council that doesn't mandate the next council, that we say, our committees are open to residents first. I mean, just let everybody know. Then when we pick them, when they come to us, they know ahead of time that we will be looking at residents first. And whether the resident serves better or the non-resident serves better is a decision that we'll make. So I guess I would like to suggest that the process not be any more cumbersome than we already have, because we don't seem to be doing a great job at implementing it. And I'm not speaking to the secretary, I think it's just cumbersome. And so I guess I would like to see us have a philosophy that says they're open to residents first, without mandating that when you go to your summer house for 6 months, you can't serve anymore.
Yeah, I mean, I think, let's not make a mountain out of a molehill. Residency is residency. I mean, I'm not saying people that are, displaced because of a hurricane, their domicile is not changing, okay? Where they're receiving their mail is likely not changing. I'm just, to me, it's very clear and it's easy. It's not supposed to be turned into something very complicated, which everyone seems to be turning it into a rocket science thing. You either live here or you don't. And that's my point, is I think that residency is important because it, again, leaves people out.
The only thing I would hate to see is if something was done that, because we think it's clear that something arbitrary could happen, that it's actually singled out to, a group or individuals and can be done arbitrarily. Because that's where I think we get divisiveness in this city, is that if people act in that fashion. To get my hands around this a little bit, what I want to do, I mean, we have a couple of options, and I want to get a sense from council. I mean, and I'm not going to say, which one, I'm just going to throw out some options and get a feel for what people want to do. We can have a workshop on this, where we want to talk about these things and be able to give very specific direction to the city attorney. We can look at providing this feedback, to him. You mentioned about some of the things you thought were constructive that we do, plus some of the original reasons why we were there, and come up with a second ordinance. Or we could, or we have to decide whether to table or see if there's consensus to go forward. So, I mean, what do people want to do?
Can I speak? I haven't had
Yeah,
my,
you haven't.
my 2 cents here. Sorry, and I won't make it 10 cents. So I'd just like to understand the why, because like Chase said, this has been around for 50-plus years and it's never been an issue. So why the problem now? We're a volunteer city, so why are we turning volunteers away? I do believe that the volunteer fire department, you don't have to be a resident of the city to be a volunteer fire department. I know that they're not dictated by our governmental rules here, but to me, it just seems like, anybody that wants to come volunteer, let's have them. And I think that the way the change is proposed, it's definitely too narrowly minded. If, how do you define residency? How do you audit it? And how do you say someone that perhaps owns homes and pays property taxes doesn't have a vested interest here in the city? So, to Chase's point, putting some exceptions in there, maybe, but again, I don't see why, why this is an issue now, and I think, I know we talked about getting our arms around the committees and doing more of the housekeeping and having it to where, every July, that's when people get appointed, and having more of a housekeeping type thing. So I feel like we're kind of going off on a tangent here, and I will say, Sarah, I really appreciate all of the homework that you've done. That was insightful. I started, it was very in-depth. I started doing some, looking at other cities before the meeting, didn't have as much time, but, so I appreciate everyone's input. I don't understand the why now, and I think we have better fish to fry, and, better places to focus our attention, whether it's on flood mitigation or whatnot, hurricane preparedness, and, a workshop maybe seems in order, because I think there's a lot of different pieces to these committees that we need to rope in, but
Let's get all on the same page.
let's get all on the same page at one time, and I feel like, we're beating a dead horse here, and I think we need to move on.
I think people are reading it differently, and that can't happen if we want to get something done.
So what I will say is if we're going to hold a workshop, every single email I received yesterday and today, 12 plus from residents, want committees led by residents. So if we're going to hold a committee, it should be similar to the Maritime Committee, where you have public opinion
I agree.
influencing a decision. Because
I don't have a problem.
I feel the majority of the city wants a resident in this city that lives here, that has vested interest, sitting on these committees and leading them. That's what I will say. That's what we've been hearing. That's why we brought this forward. There's concern, and we're trying to address it.
And I believe we can have our cake and eat it too. I really do, because in the people I called who emailed that, the people I talked to did not want anything that would impact our economic development or have anything that would have. No, but I'm sorry.
The city attorney is telling you it's not.
I read it differently than you. I really do, because it has exceptions, and we've actually done things. So I'd rather us get in, this was done, with very little eyes. It's being sent here for first reading. People are reading it different. You've even gotten the feedback here that people see it as being narrow or rigid or things like that. But that doesn't mean it doesn't have value. And I don't want it to be black and white like that. So I would like to see us see how we can get consensus as to what really needs to be done, because I do believe we can have our cake and eat it too.
I will say, Paula said something just a minute ago about we have a problem already notifying who's on these committees.
Yeah.
Now we're going to have to figure out who's not on these committees. So that's just another wrench in the thing. But also, don't the committees pick their chair?
They do.
So they would have that. I guess
that's one of the things we said in the things here is we wanted.
So they would pick their chair, and then I unfortunately, Phil, I do agree with Dick on this. I think that those are kind of outside the scope of those committees that were mentioned by Sarah. But I will say that it seems like there is some confusion with the whole Cindy DeWeese thing. Should she have been term limited or not? I'm completely okay with moving forward with what we've already got. I'm okay also with my exceptions that I worked very hard on, and I'm okay with the workshop. I like the notion behind it. I just think that there's just a a better way of doing it. And clearly, we're going through a process right now where we're trying to figure out these committees and boards. So this is probably the time to do it.
It is.
But I think that it just needs to be thought out a little bit more.
I think one of the reasons why I think the Maritime Committee was because we did just what you said, Haley. We invited people and we had good participation, and there was a group that was allowed to be able to really go back and forth. So I agree with that. I do.
I mean, the reason I brought this up in the first place is because there are so many vacancies that are coming out, like in the last, basically, I mean, we have 3 vacancies in planning and zoning, 4 Board of Adjustment, and 6 in Parks and Recreation. So, you know, I think the eligibility of people that are members is important, and I think that on the front end, asking the person to show proof of residency is important. And I mean, if you think it's stringent, Chase, I think you're, okay, you know, sure, you can retain 90 days and then show intention to reestablish residency. That's fine. I mean, I think somebody that is pushed out because they have a hurricane damage, they're going to show intention to return to the city because they're going to be fixing up their house. You know, somebody that's doing some sort of construction on their home, they can easily show that. So, I mean, all these other cities, I feel like while y'all think that this is targeting something in particular, I feel like y'all are carving out an exception on something that you would absolutely have hands down not have had a problem with. So, you know, that's what my feeling is.
Nobody's saying what you're saying doesn't have merit. What we're saying is, I think it's probably, there's some concerns. I would like to suggest to one thing, I like the idea of a workshop. I'd like to see if we do, I'd like to see us all get on the same page so that there's not, you know, a concern with the way language is written, one way or the other, because I think all the things I've heard here are valid concerns. There's not invalid, it's just whether certain ones should dominate versus the other, and I think we can have our cake and eat it too.
Well, then we can't reappoint anyone until we've had this workshop, I suppose, and the workshop needs to happen quickly.
That may be right. I mean, one of the things I'd like to see too is I do not want to relinquish the original task, which was to help fix things for the city secretary, because the system, you know, we were saying we've got vacancies coming. We set up a communication thing that's been very difficult to do with varying staggers for dates and the months for these committees, that it's become an impossible task for the city secretary to manage efficiently. And we said we wanted to fix that. I think that should still be part of this. I don't think we should jettison that, because that's what this whole effort started out to be.
I don't think we're discounting that, Phil. I think there were 2 different perspectives. Yes, we wanted this easy for Maria, which was a secondary conversation to our original concern in the first place, which was around what we're talking about now.
I mean, this came up after that close. This was, we didn't even talk about this basis, you know, in the last council meeting.
Well,
So
we kind of brought it up in a roundabout way, and that's where it ended up, but that's not the direction we were going in the first place, I think, so.
So that may be so, more of a reason to have a workshop, so we can talk it through and get it done.
I think it's critical that we resolve these issues here. I mean, we have 2023 dates.
We do.
Do these people even still want to serve? I mean, do
Most
they?
do.
That's another point.
So if we could, I think we need to start with, actually, I mean, sometimes I worry that we don't have enough volunteers. What if we make it so rigid that committees can't function? So I guess I would like to see us for the first step, because I would prefer the workshop be in January and not November and December. So I would like for somebody to make contact with these people and say, you know, your time is up. Do you know that? Do you want to serve? Are you happy your time is up, or you're not unhappy?
I think Maria has already done that. Sorry, go ahead.
Yes, if I may. I have reached out to all the expiring members and expired members. I've sent out a mass email asking them if they are still interested in serving, if they would please reapply.
But that's different from seeing whether they really want to, but that would give at least an indication. If they don't, it gives them an easy way not to. So I like that.
Yeah, I do too.
Just to verify their address, phone numbers, emails, and Just to confirm that they're still interested in
Out
serving.
out of the people you contacted, how many have reapplied?
So, from the list, not very many. I did provide a list of all the applicants.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yes, yes, I've been working on this.
Yeah.
Updating the list, going back and verifying dates and committees, and we're trying to work on a new policy, which is one of the items later on this agenda. And so I did, we also pushed it out on the Compass Rose social media. That's been out there for quite a bit. So I did give the applicants until December 6th to respond, to reapply. That way I would have some feedback
Deadline.
before the next council meeting.
Perfect.
So I guess my recommendation then would be, let's just table it till January and do a workshop in January. We'll have all that information. We'll look and see how many
Are
vacancies
you guys
are.
okay with that? Are you guys okay with that? No, the two, I mean, this is,
That brought this forward.
yeah.
Tabling it till January and then.
I mean, I think at this point, like I've heard from everyone up here, I don't think that we're going to be at consensus. And if a workshop is going to lead us into a direction where you're going to hear people's comments that I feel like we hear and are valuable and take that into consideration, then yes.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
And I'll just say the comments that I received back today via email, phone, voice, text, whatnot, were about half and half. So there's both sides of the aisle
Ones we
here.
had here today, yeah.
Mine was not, mine was definitely heavily more towards doing the ordinance, but then when the questions came up, they had questions. So it's still open in my mind.
Yeah, I'll say it, the majority of the people wanted there to be residents and
Yeah.
people to be vested, which I completely agree with. But the responses that I got were a mixed bag with
Yep.
like, hey, yeah, I 100% agree with the ordinance the way it's written, or, hey, I agree with it, but there's some things that should be added to it, some exclusions or exceptions.
That's what
So
I heard.
clearly, it's a need, and, I thank you, Sarah, and Haley for bringing it up, so.
Do I hear a motion to table?
You want a motion? I mean, I move that we table the agenda item,
Number 91, yeah.
9120240212B-1, and in preparation for completing this list and a possible workshop in January.
Second by Jason. No more discussion. I
Would
hate
it
to-
also, okay, this agenda 3.
There has to be a vote.
Yeah, there has to be a vote, but I'm just saying that once it's tabled and second, discussion stops.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong.
No, it's a non-debatable motion. You just have to take a vote.
So I need to call for the vote? No, this means it would have to.
Until January.
Yeah,
It'd have to come back as a first reading.
Yep, because I think we're going to have some changes to it anyway. So then I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor of the table? All those not? 5-2. It's tabled. I would also, I heard very strongly a consensus that we should do a workshop. Are you sure we can't do something in the middle of December? I know it's in between the holidays, but I'm not so sure I want to, I'm not so sure I want to.
Yeah, somebody mentioned the 14th is available?
Yeah. What's the hour?
It's number 10.
Right.
So we have council on the 9th of December.
Yes. New Year's Eve.
And then you're right on Christmas Eve, the 23rd.
I mean, I'm trying to be responsive to saying that there was
Work to be done.
work to be done.
I'm okay with December.
I am too.
I am too. I'm here
So
all month.
can you look at in the middle of December? And also, if it can't be in, as early in January as possible?
Good.
Those two focus times with a
But
desire to do it.
not late December, 'cause I'm going to be in West
Yeah,
Texas.
not late December. Once we get to that week, Christmas week, I'd say that's we should not do that.
Well, our meeting in December is on December 9th.
Correct. So it'd be probably that week afterwards, or that week, or that,
We could do 10th, 11th, or 12th.
let's go see. I mean, like, I don't know what people's schedules are, I don't know if the thing's here.
And I think it's important that we have this fixed by then, so we're really pushing the secretary to get answers and.
So maybe the week of the 16th.
Yeah.
A little bit more time to.
Not December 20th, that's my birthday.
Yeah, because hang on, let me look at my calendar. Yeah, I would say, once, the latest it can be would be, December 20th.
That's a Friday.
I'm just saying, that's the Friday, and it could be anywhere between the 10th and the 20th,
But not the 20th.
but not the 20th. So the 18th. Not the 10. So anyways, can you go,
So we would have a council meeting on December 9th with a workshop,
sometime between the 10th and the 18th?
the 10th and the 18th.
Are people comfortable just naming a date now?
I mean, I think we can do.
Or let-
Closed session, maybe.
So
I
I
just,
think we have to do it in open session, or just give feedback to Maria.
yeah, because
I
I
would
worry about
suggest-
the holiday parties, the fire
Yeah,
people,
I
they
mean,
all
I
have
don't know if everybody has the
dates.
ability to make that decision tonight,
I'd say Monday, the 16th.
Could we do it?
you know?
Haven't we done a workshop before a city council meeting? Could we do it like at 6 o'clock and then have the city council meeting?
It's going to go on longer than that.
No, we could.
Yeah,
We could
it's-
do 5 o'clock. Give us 2 hours.
I don't know if we can do your time.
Can she get this ready by the 8th?
Why don't we try to say whether or not the 16th, 17th, or the 18th, and find out what's most convenient for people? How about that? Because I don't want to just say one, right? Because I don't know if everybody has their schedules.
And we need to actually look at what's going on in the city, because I like to attend the Christmas parties that all the groups put on and
You
show
party animal,
support. Yeah, no, so we need to coordinate with their calendars.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
16th, 17th, or 18th?
Yeah, and I would say, Maria, I likely will need a Zoom because Joint Commission is at all my hospitals the first 3 weeks of December. So I'll be here in person as soon as I can be.
Okay.
16th, 17th,
All
or
right.
18th.
Then moving on, this is for new business, number 2, consideration and possible action, resolution number 2024-119A, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Nassau Bay, Texas, designating 3 authorized signatures for banking transactions for the City of Nassau Bay accounts and authorizing the approval and execution of any related documents and repealing all resolutions or parts of resolutions in conflict herewith. I mean?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. So Stellar Bank, they're our depository bank. That's where all our accounts are at. But we do have one account at B1 Bank with a small balance. And the purpose of that account is for us to get access to the component unit accounts, the EDC and the RDA. So we need to update those signatures so I can get access to the new CD that was just renewed here recently. So right now I do not have access to see it online and to get the statement.
Yep.
But I can't do it.
This is
unless
the
we-
only one that, we did this last month, too. This is the only one we didn't do. This is pretty much housekeeping, the way I
That is
look at
correct.
it. This
Last
is
month we did
housekeeping
the Stellar
folks.
accounts. Yeah, this is for
And the 3
B1.
people will be whom?
Myself, Paul, and Maria.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the resolution designating authorized signers to conduct transactions and access accounts via online banking on all B1 bank accounts, checking savings and certificate of deposits for the following entities: City of Nassau Bay and component units, Nassau Bay Economic Development Corporation and Nassau Bay Redevelopment Authority.
I'll second it.
Yep, moved by Lucy, second by Chase. Any further questions? I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor?
All right, thank you.
7-0. Thank you, Jaime. Number 3, consideration of regarding approving or amending a policy and procedure for appointments. This is with a direction I thought, I'd like to just table this because it's really part of the other one.
Yeah, I would move to table and then we can include it in the workshop.
Yep, correct.
Second.
Second by
Good
Ashley.
with you, Maria?
All those in favor? 5.
We already did the other ones.
Yeah, correct. So there's that. Yes, it was. It was 7-0. And then, correct me if I'm wrong, was it? Yep. 4, council discussion and possible action regarding the City of Nassau Bay generator ordinance process and the separation. Did you want to describe this one? How did you want to do this, Paul?
So basically, it's kind of what Ms. Moncrief was talking about earlier. It's just, we have a guideline of, it's not really in the ordinance, and it's just a guideline that we actually put together June of this year, after some things were brought forth. We do have a guideline, and then Ms. Moncrief's been getting with me a lot on some issues, and so basically this is something just to look into, and so maybe
So let me
discuss.
chime in about what I think is the need. This city has gone through 4 to 5 feet of subsidence. This would not really be a problem, 20, 25 years ago. And now it is a problem for people with their homes, power, things along that line, much more than in the past. And we're seeing more and more homes actually putting in generators because of that. And I have to completely agree that when these things run, they are loud, quite a bit of emissions. They are ones that could be right outside a bedroom window, things along that line. But at the same time, generators perform an emergency service. I mean, people who have medical conditions that see a number of benchmarks from other cities so that we can do this. The purpose here is this is going to become a bigger issue. I think you're already hearing it from different things, and I think we got to get our hands around it. I believe very strongly that 3 feet is too small. I think anybody who's there, and I also believe that I don't want people to divide and conquer the homeowners association with city council. I believe that we should have as part of our permit that they've got to come forward with compliance with all restrictions within the city so that we don't have people working around the efforts. I think, those are 2 of my minimum ones. With the emissions, I know here, just working with Becky or the Moncriefs, that there are heights to certain exhaust pipes depending on the size. A lot of this is specific to that. But there's also things around, the decibel level of rated ones, because some people are putting in some pretty daggone big machines. I mean, I've seen, 32 kW machines going in where, before they were 15. So these things are loud and they put out a lot of exhaust. So I don't know what other people think, but I would really like to see a benchmark so we don't have to reinvent the wheel, what people are, and then key fulcrums, which to me are making sure all restrictions are applied to, and particularly the emissions and the distance from the setback, depending on how loud they are.
I agree, the 3 feet seems very small, and I think that, the specifications for these, generators, the manufacturer manuals have different, almost conflict with this completely, because it says, that it should be a certain distance away, much further away. Additionally, obviously, the fumes are a concern. These things are loud, very loud. And you tend to notice it when your neighbor has one, and then when you get your own, you kind of forget about it.
But what I guess I'd like to do is I'd like to have that
When your whole
benchmark.
house is lit up and
I
your
don't know
AC's
if Tony
working.
can help out with this or something along that line where we get a variety of different, just what are other people doing? So
Yes.
that we can see that and put a table together. And because I think this is something we can do pretty quickly. I would also, for anything that people are putting ones in, unless there is a real emergency situation where somebody has medical issues or something like that, I'd like to put a stop to putting in a generator, because I think we can do this quickly. And I really, I mean, we just need to benchmark it, find out the key fulcrums, and then just put it into law.
And we've started working on, Cecily started working on some items also, and Ms. Moncrief actually has been big advocate of finding,
I don't know what
reaching out to
other people
cities,
think. I
so.
mean, I'm just stating, putting throwing something against the wall to see what sticks.
I've heard from Ms. Moncrief many times in the HOA before on the city council about the same subject. I don't disagree. I don't own a generator, so I'm not an expert. But I do know if you're going to power your house with a generator, you have to be semi-close to be able to get it like plugged in, right? To like your stuff?
Well, actually not. You have to have, what? So she was on where the place, there are definitive height restrictions. You've got to be, yes, so, I mean, there's definitively height, but I thought she meant geography, not elevation. And really, you can, I've seen people put them on their roofs, I've seen people put them there, it's just running wire. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, it's running wire
I mean,
and a transfer switch.
I would say
Yeah.
whatever
And a
is.
gas line.
I don't think 3 feet is enough. I love your yardstick, by the way. It reminds me of elementary school, actually. It is.
But
I would say whatever the safest distance is, we should mandate that is what it is.
So if we have a benchmark of the things, like, just put a table together and see what people do. And then let's look at it. I think it'll become self-evident. I really do. And then I also want a process where that if the homeowners, I don't want to reinvent the wheel and things like that. So if they've got restrictions, you've got good reasons for it. And I don't want people to say, well, I can comply with this one, but not that one. I would want to have the documentation in the folder and make sure we're the check valve.
Yep. And there's some communities that don't have functioning homeowners associations. So whatever we work through, we'll have to comply with that. Just because you don't have a functioning homeowners association doesn't mean you can get away with doing things.
I also don't, Phil, I don't want to make it to be like only in medical emergencies that you use it. Like people deserve, if you buy a generator and you want to have air conditioning.
I'll give you another one where, I use like the oxygen generator one, but if somebody's disabled and they've got an elevator and they don't have power, they're stuck in that room unless they call these people, right? So.
Right, but I'm saying don't restrict it to only people who are in medical need of it.
Yeah.
So I think another thing that we talked about with respect to this, and I know that we have the Nassau Bay HOA here, I don't know if we have other HOA representatives, but we talked about also having a unified process for approvals because they have clear rules that needs to go through their architectural approval review, but we don't, when we approve something or do a permit for something, there's no checks and balances on, hey, did you get it approved with the HOA? Even for things like driveways, or is that something that we also need to be digging into as part of this, is just how are we working with our HOAs? I see it. But I feel like that there's a big disconnect and they have different rules than we have. And so if you get approval from one or the other, do we even have a list? I mean, I'm sure we do, and I know we do because I've asked you, but what are all of our approved generators in the city? How many generators exist that have been approved by the HOA, but not the city, and vice versa?
Or vice versa.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, that happens a lot. People paint their homes, put in driveways, do all the things. Having sat on the HOA, I know this happens. So there needs to be more coordination between
The only thing that's really helpful is that if a storm comes through and power goes out,
you're looking for the person with the generator.
You can't hide it.
Well, and when the storm comes on, that's when you do have your windows open and the noise is a bigger issue and the venting is a bigger issue of the exhaust. So I think that's where the haves and have-nots of the generators will definitely see differences. I also, that's probably the biggest when you notice it.
There's also concerns with the fact that most of these are being built on platforms. The HOA is requiring some sort of surrounding fence. That
correct.
fence will go outside the platform. It can't float in air. I mean, how far can that fence be from the property next door? It's just very complicated. And honestly, and I don't enjoy having more meetings necessarily, but generators might deserve its own workshop too.
It might. I'd like to see just what the what the table of what other people have done already.
Ms. Moncrief can lead that committee.
We've got the documents.
Okay?
If I could just say one thing that's bothered me all along, is that you seem to be going by certain permitting procedures that don't include your entire ordinance. There's 11,700 and 11,1,000 has descriptions in here that should be considered good. If you could read it, I think I gave you some information on it. Just one part of 11,700 performance standards that all uses and, well, here,
All uses and activities permitted as of right or specific use permit in any district shall conform to the standards of performance described below and shall be so construed, maintained, and operated so as not to be injurious or offensive to the occupants of adjacent premises by being vibration, smoke, dust, or other particulate matter toxic or noxious waste materials, odor, fire, explosive hazards, or flame.
and I'm saying that does not seem to be considered in your permitting procedures, and yet part of the ordinance.
Fair enough.
That way it's something
Fair enough.
We need to fix that.
I think that ordinance should be reviewed. I think it's very generic in the way it's stated, like,
It is.
it's very subjective.
That's what, I ultimately believe that's where this is going, but I think we need that table to find out what are the specific. It's 10 o'clock.
On the generator.
10 o'clock.
All right. Do you need a motion to that, or is that still good consensus enough for direction? Is enough?
So we're saying,
Maria,
what are
you got that, and Paul, you got that for, yeah. Okay.
City's going to draw it up.
Okay.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed that. How did we settle that?
So what we're going to do is we're going to create a benchmark of surrounding areas and what their ordinance are on these specifics, and put it in a table for discussion for next council meeting to see about modifications to the existing ordinance.
We don't want to do that for the committees too?
I actually think if this is
I'm
complex,
just
just
trying to
looking
lighten
at
the room.
3 feet, I would think you would agree that it's even more so on committees.
And,
Ms. Moncrief, we're going
I
to
would
need
think.
to take your yardstick.
and also we'll have to reach out to Safe Built since they're our permit. and-
I would absolutely do
Yeah,
that.
so we'll have to reach out to them.
Just
and-
get a table on these things. I mean, it's not that complex.
And she's an expert.
Yes.
So, yeah, if we could get those
But I-
together, it
But
would
I
work.
think the piece that is, we say we're going to put on hold new permits for generators until we resolve it,
I have,
unless there's a compelling reason to do so otherwise. Okay, everybody okay with that? I think so.
I haven't,
I'm going to move on. I think they said that's all that was needed. The next is,
Phil, did you say you're going to put a hold on permits for generators until we figure this out?
until December, yes.
I don't think we should do that, in my opinion.
Let me just ask, what do people think? That's what
Because
I'm
I
trying to give, I'm trying to give direction to the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
folks so that because I know there's generators that are planning to go in
Yep.
that are going to be doing at a 3-foot level, unless we unless we do something to
Right.
do otherwise.
My concern is, like, what if we get an ice storm in the next 3 weeks, which is not impossible, and people lose power and they need a generator to heat their home and have hot water and all this stuff? I don't
Well,
want to.
I'm not saying do it, I mean, we're talking about whether or not new ones is, it wouldn't affect existing ones.
No, I know, but I don't know.
well,
What
let's
it-
just leave it. Let's just leave it.
So
and when we get to
what's
it,
the
we get-
consensus? What do people think? Do we want to stop the ones or
No.
no? I think we
We leave it.
My understanding is to get a generator, it's like months out.
Correct.
So if you've already made your
You
application,
aren't.
it's been approved, it's probably coming in within the next couple of weeks. I think we just kind of add it.
Is that what people think? Is that, okay? Okay. So the view is that it's too harsh to like stop ones now that the thing's there, that we need to get our act together quickly to get these in place.
Well, I think all council needs to know that I have tried not to address this whole situation. I've been in this situation, but I am.
That's what I was.
I'm one that's going out, 3 feet away from the parking lot. I have a set of stairs 3 feet on my side of the parking lot. That generator can sit 6 feet away from the staircase, not even to go in and out my. And carbon monoxide and the noise and all of it. And it's going on right now. This has been going on for a couple of years. Several of your former code inspectors have turned it down 3 or 4 times. And it's always gone back there. And now all of a sudden, here we are, they built, remember, it looks like there's.
And it has been permitted?
And I'm being permitted.
It has been permitted, or it has not been permitted?
I believe, I'm not 100% sure.
I'm not for sure.
What about the homeowners?
So I believe it has a permit, as it stands where it is, it has a permit. It hasn't been inspected, because I'm not sure the installation is complete, and we haven't started. I thought I was sitting on that thing.
That, yes, that generator is sitting there, but they haven't installed.
Right, but they have.
Correct. No screening, no, nothing, none of the requirements have been defined on it, as far as I know.
Paul, can we have someone go out and
Yes.
look at that? I mean, to give her peace of mind and not put a
Yeah.
pause on everything?
And it's shifted because the HOA did have to approve it, but it has changed since the initial permit went in. What was permitted is no longer correct based on what the HOA approved. So that's the other part.
So Megan, maybe you, I don't know if Glenn Poche is still with you on, oh, there you are. I see you back there. You're behind Miss Moncrief. But maybe you and Paul can work together and try to get it inspected and make sure that she's going to be safe from what she's worried about.
So you can look at this two ways. I mean, honestly, like, we're worried about winter storms and people waiting for generators to go in, but you can also look at it as, we don't want a generator going in that is definitely not up to snuff and is going to cause somebody to be in an unhealthy situation or unsafe situation. So, you know, I'm okay with stopping permits for 2 weeks or 3, I don't know, we're not doing a workshop, right? We're just trying to compare our ordinances to other area ordinances, is my understanding. So I'm not sure that will be done very quickly, but if we put a drop dead date on it, then that'd probably be a good idea to try to get this shored up.
About almost as clear as our committees. You know?
So now we're
okay,
seeing
no, but I'm
towards
okay with-
holding permits.
I'm saying I'm
What's
okay
that?
with
Are you-
withholding permits, or I just think that, you know, if this is imminent and this is a big concern for her, then I don't, you know, I'm okay with withholding these permits.
Yeah, and I don't know if there's a way for us to know who's installing what. I mean, obviously, they're supposed to go through the HOA and get, like,
Well, I mean, we always have recourse. If somebody does something that's not permitted and we find it doesn't do that, we have recourse, right?
Sure.
What I guess I want to make sure is that if we believe we've got a problem here and there's some things actively going on, this is probably the appropriate time to do a pause, because it's in the least time frame for a needed generator right now. And come January, February, so up until December 9th, we're still in hurricane season.
no, I get it.
Right?
I'm not opposing that. I just feel like if people have generators on order, like, if they're waiting to install them, but I think if we communicate that and it's a pause for a short time, not like months and months and months.
So why don't we say this, it's the pause will sunset on December 9th if we don't figure this out.
Not the literal sense, but I don't know, I don't like that. I think we should just, again, you know, less involvement. If we just continue what we're doing right now, and then once we come up with some guidance, then we can kind of move forward with that. I think right now, if we just pause it, kind of what Haley said.
It just puts her in harm's way.
Yeah,
It puts her in harm's way.
Are they not going to be inspecting it?
Well,
What's
no,
that?
that's why we
No,
said
but
Paul
they're
worked
gonna go
with
to 3
HOA.
feet.
So I was very confused about the process of that permit in the first place.
Correct. Be December 9th. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think we've already got.
But then it takes 2 readings.
It takes 2 readings.
2 meetings.
So, I mean, this is out January.
I think the city should just work with her and her.
I agree. I think Paul and
But
the
I-
HOA
but
should
there-
work
I think
together
that-
and try to make sure it's,
If it's not permitted properly, it's done. In my opinion, it should move forward.
But she needs a
That
new,
particular.
but, so, let me, again, I'll take her, be a champion here a little bit. What she's saying is, and I think we're all agreeing, that the constraints are too lenient. And that even if you go and stop the permit now, they're gonna turn right around and they'll do the things and they'll do it to the 3 foot and they'll comply. Whatever the minor thing is, because it's really inches we're talking here, not feet. Or, so she's gonna be put in harm's way if we let the process continue, if we say, we wanna do that. And my feeling is if we believe that this is too lenient, I would not wanna put her in harm's way, or anybody else.
I'm gonna be open and honest. I have a slab in my backyard for a generator that has all the electrical and everything ready to just have the generator dropped. I think it's well beyond the 5 feet off the property line, and I think it's permitted, but I'm not sure. So there probably are people that are doing the right thing, and they're gonna be stopped. And then what, are we gonna make them dig up their slabs? And if they're permitted, they're permitted. I guess that's the problem.
Well, what I guess here is if they've already got a permit, I don't believe there's anything we can do.
Okay.
I mean, just honestly, if they've got a permit, what I'm saying is if they don't have a permit, or if they're doing something which their permit gets changed, or they things like they've got to come back for a new one, then we should pause it. So it'd be for all new permits coming in from this day forward.
but Ms. Moncrief, exactly. So I don't think that solves your problem, to be
I think
honest.
Unless it's not
we need to
permanent.
understand what's going on with this specific situation. I would hate to have, we've got guidelines in place right now. If we're like, okay, you know what, this person, we're going to pause it, and then, like Haley said, maybe we do have
But I
an
don't
ice
think
storm.
we can pause it for one person.
That's what I'm
We're
saying.
gonna either
I
pause it-
don't-
Pause it or not.
That's why I don't agree with the pause. We have guidelines in place right now. If this person's already submitted one or is in the process of submitting one, I'm just kind of looking at what could potentially happen if there is an ice storm. This person has already had one in the process of being input, and then we won't allow them to comply with our guidelines, and then we have an ice storm, and then they're, up a creek without a paddle, and, they have, maybe they have damage to their home, maybe they've got health issues themselves. I would like to know more information about this before we make any action or take any action with regard to a pause. I understand that she's got a situation, but I would like to understand that situation a little bit more before we take any action with regard to a pause. Because that pause isn't going to be for that one person, it's going to be for everybody that's trying to get.
That's what I'm
I
saying.
agree. And also, the agenda item probably doesn't encompass a pause for enforceability purposes. I'd be careful with that. I agree with you.
Yeah. I do think, Paul, if you met with HOA and maybe some inspector, maybe perhaps there could be a conversation to resolve this issue without putting a pause on everyone else.
Yes, ma'am.
We haven't
Yep.
even talked to them yet, so.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, we'll look into all the facts.
So if they created, so if there was a change to the design of it right now, that could.
They would have to, that would say they'd have to get that re-permitted. Yeah. Did you want to say something, Rob?
That's interesting. Good. So they may allow it.
Yeah.
And there was something about a letter of no objection from the utility company.
That's would be, they're going to want to say, a permit.
So Centerpoint will go to all that.
Okay.
They hope to have one next year. Thank you for that. And the
Okay.
But one of the things coming up to you is at this point, just no regulation on generators that I can see, except for this ordinance that prevents
Yeah.
waves and all of these, that maybe it's too long something, I understand. But we're talking about the difference between, emergency medical equipment and running your entire house and everything.
Yeah, but I would even say this, I mean, I have a disabled person living who will soon probably only be able to move by means of a wheelchair, which means an elevator. And which, if you look at the power constraints on that and the things along that line, I think we run into some real safety issues by saying we're gonna, but I believe there should be setbacks associated, because a bigger unit's is gonna have a design, and they're gonna define decibel levels. And if your decibel level is X, the minimum setback is Y. If it's Z, then it's W, right? And that's,
Top level parameters, one of the things that we came up against, very difficult for HOA is, we have built lines, we have city lines, we have all these things. Then you have the generators have all these requirements, the manufacturer specification requirements. And then you have, it can't be your window, so we have a particular house where it literally can't go anywhere else because of the old window that has been installed since allocation, right? Without it those considerations, but it's very piecemeal situation where, because they wanted a window there, now this generator can only go right here. And I think those are some things that we can work out, the HOA needs to come into this too, is that variance, waivers versus look like.
So there are certain requirements that certain generators, like ours, when we look at ours, they said that a 24 kilowatt generator would, or 2400 watt generator would be enough sufficient to run everything, including our pole.
Yeah.
Our house is 2700. So
Yeah,
we
we're not-
would put something on it.
Yeah.
That for your home, square footage
Yeah.
is the max you could have would be a 2400 kilowatt, 400 kilowatt, whatever, at that point.
let me just say, I don't want to work this detail, because we're gonna get into things here, because it's 10:15. They're all good comments, don't get me wrong, they're all good comments. But we need, there's a lot of these parameters we just gotta fill out and see where it's at.
Can
A
I?
lot of this is sort of a case by case basis with the
Yeah.
interference community. A lot of things have changed in all of these years, these elevations. We're in a brave new world of we're just trying to figure out what to do.
It's BFE plus 2, it says 17 feet for where we're at. It's BFE plus 2.
I know the HOA wants to be able to
Yep.
address a lot of these issues. I know one needs to have to be different. The HOA is trying to figure out how this moves.
I don't mind sharing our table with you so you can see it too,
Or
so.
just say on our end, we're willing to be flexible as we
Yep.
can be to help get these incorporated.
All I know is I think this is as far as we can take it tonight.
I do have one question of clarification for Rod, if that's okay. So this states to get the permit from Nassau Bay, you have to have the letter of no objection from the utility company. So then you gain your permit, and then before the transfer switch is connected, that's when, so you have a secondary approval from the utility company? Okay, thank you.
Yep. Yep. All right, I'm moving on, guys. Staff update regarding the fiscal year 2023 scoping and the FMA elevation grants update.
Yes, so the the FY '23 scope and grant update, the application has been submitted and selected for funding. Funding will be received in the fall of 2025. In addition, there were no provisions for emergency funding.
The fall of 2025?
Yes.
Jeff said it was the February. Can you confirm that? Because that's different than what he told me.
I,
Yeah, I get that, we don't have, but I'm working on the anticipated funding. One's 8 months from the other. He generally said they get named, like in the September, October time, which we did, and that they get funded the following, call it February, not before. Just confirm that,
Okay.
please.
Okay.
But funding's imminent, or hopefully imminent.
correct. But Congress has not yet fully obligated the funds, though.
Yeah.
So, and then on the FY23 FEMA Elevation Grant, funding will be received in the fall of 2025.
Yeah.
So, and that's the 8 homes that will be part of the program.
Okay.
That's
Is that the last 13 houses that just kind of went into the program? Didn't we just have 13 that went in? And that
19, right.
19?
Yeah.
So that encompasses them? Oh, it's additional ones?
Mhm.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay, thank you.
So again, here it would say, with the 19, we're like at right a little over 100, at 102, 103. And you're saying there's 8 more after that. So by the time this gets through the process, which is 2 years out or so, we'll have 111 or so, 110 homes that will have been lifted. Okay. Yeah, okay. And what is the level of funding we got for the 3 projects? The dredging of Lake Nassau, the
That was-
power electrification on
That was $179,340.
for each,
that.
for all
Total.
3? So
For total.
just under $200,000.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then on the elevation grant, that total amount is 2.9 million, 2,988,000.
Okay, good.
That's all I have.
Any questions there? Then next is to go into executive session, which I'll make sure is brief. It is, the city council will now hold a closed executive meeting pursuant to the provision of Chapter 551 Texas Government Code in accordance with the authority contained in A, consultation with city attorney, section under 551.071, parentheses 2 of Texas Government Code. Council shall conduct a closed executive session for a private consultation with its attorney on a matter in which the duty of the attorney to the governmental body under the Texas disciplinary rules or professional conduct of the State Bar of Texas clearly conflicts with this chapter. It is 10:20. Is 10:37, and we are back in open session. I think I need to ask for
Move
a
to
motion
adjourn.
to adjourn. By
Second.
Chase, second by Haley. All those in favor? Passes 7-0. Thanks.
10:30.